Good evening, it's April 16th at 6 o'clock. I'd like to call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Teresa A. Moss present.
Joe Shank present.
Rita Sexton Duranian present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank all veterans past and present, and those first responders and those in service. We appreciate your service. 1.3, the meeting is being recorded and it will be uploaded to the YouTube channel. Chairman's additions and deletions. I loaded up the agenda today, so I don't have any. You guys have any?
No, I think I can talk about it during liaison, but I do want to talk about something going with the Unitel spraying.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. 1.5, review and approve the meeting minutes for 3/6/2024. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes for 3/6/2024.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on those?
I didn't see anything.
Pretty straightforward.
I didn't see anything either. I have no red marks or blue marks on mine. So all those in favor?
Teresa A. Moss, yes.
Joseph Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian,
Mr. Durant.
Special place week, just sitting
yes.
away.
Sit right over here because you're coming up, my friend.
Okay, I know I'm a little late, I just,
No, you got 2 more minutes.
You got
my
2
dirty
minutes.
clothes off, did a quick tick check, I'm clear, and here we go.
So thank you for doing that for us.
Yeah, you know, they're local ticks, by the way, they weren't out of town talent.
We have a Townsend First policy.
You're only the first down.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, so 2.1, discuss and vote on an agricultural commission posting with Jim DeRoyan, and you have the floor.
I don't have much other than I'm coming in front of everybody to give everybody a good insight, the reasons why we need an agriculture commission, you know, some of the benefits of it, on and on it goes. We had the commission functioning and working, I think it was 4 years ago. I became overwhelmed with it. I was doing conservation, full-time EPS, my farm, and I just couldn't keep it going. I couldn't keep the wheels on. Since I've retired, I can commit the time to it. I've spoken to a good many people who are interested in coming on board as commissioners, so I have a good field of people that, you know, want to be involved in it, and on it goes from there. I think everybody knows that we're a right to farm bylaw in Townsend, so we need to work with, you know, our agricultural field. I see some of these reasons why we need to do this is to, with another one of my commissions on conservation, we want to involve more of the younger kids in the whole agriculture field, bring them up through the ranks. I would rather see old farm properties exist and maintain in farming and not be bought by Fish and Game to be put into a setting where they're not going to be used as agriculture. You know, I've seen a lot of property go under Fish and Game guidelines, and we have a lot, and there's a lot of restriction in being able to use them, use any of the land for agricultural purposes. Once our agricultural base is gone, what do we have? Houses to grow food on. Park areas that have grown fallow, the fields are going fallow with a lot of them that Fish and Game has purchased. I mean, I can mention a good amount of fields I was farming for years, now no longer being used, restrictions. And they're they've gone to fallow. There's trees growing in there. I get it. I'm all for my wildlife and my environment, but we need to have an agriculture base. It's an important thing, you know, and I think there's a lot of people in town that show a lot of interest in the agriculture world. And we have some beautiful farms in town that are doing well, you know? So I guess I don't want to take up too much of everyone's time. I just would like a little input back from what my selectmen feel. What are your thoughts on it? Each and every one of you on an individual basis. More than willing to answer any questions, but I think everyone knows where I'm going with it. With my property with, you know, we're doing garlic now, a large amount. We now are doing maple syrup. And the next thing we're going into grapes to grow for a winery. So it's all good. The work that I've been doing on the property, it's not easy. It's very expensive. But you know what? If you have a love of it, and if you love your town and your agricultural base, it's a no-brainer. We've been here since 1959. And Joe, you've known me since I was about that tall. On and on it goes. So I can go on and on with this. But I think the basic essence of it is all pretty much on the table where we're going. I think when you go down West Meadow Road, more than any street in Townsend, it's a beautiful agricultural mile with the work that Dick's Market is doing over across the street, Charlie Rossback, the reclamation and the rebirth of the farm, Jimmy Craven's field, which is all coming back and, you know, being restabilized, brought out of earth removal into active hay fields again, which is a beautiful thing. You know, Billy May Sr. is, I think, looking down going, good to see you boys taking good care of that. I don't want to see a bunch of solar fields being put in on agriculture property either. That 1.3 meg solar field is, I understand the green initiative, I'm all for it, but there's a place for everything. And that right in the middle of that agriculture field is not the place. Enough said. Please, questions. Therese.
Yeah, so I just want to understand, the main purpose is to get people more involved in agriculture, or would it be to set town regulations on what and how
It
we
will
do it?
touch base on all of that, Teresa. In other words, it's going to be educating the people in town. It's going to be working with the existing farmers in town, which I have a list of everybody ready to go. There's a good group of, I don't think we're going to need any posting to bring a commission together. I'm going to be able to do that right
I
away.
think we'd have to
And
post anyway.
one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it gonna work hand in hand with conservation, and are you gonna stay on both, or?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
I can't leave conservation. That's, you know, I'm 16 years into it now. You know, I'm gonna stay with it and keep going with it.
okay, and they'll work hand in hand, okay.
We will, absolutely. It is something that is no question. Conservation is, you know, agriculture is conservation. If the farmers don't respect the water, the wildlife, all in all, everything, we're doomed. We all have to work very, very closely together. It's paramount.
Thank you.
And I will make that, you know, a part of it.
So, I think, Jimmy, what you're doing, bringing it back, I believe when I first got on that first term is right about when you stepped down on the agricultural.
Yeah.
There just was too much going on for yourself. I think it's very important that we, as a little town, keep the agricultural stuff under control, get people to understand it, be able to know what's going on. As you said, bring the younger kids up, going into some of the farms, the Rossback farms, your farm, the Shepherd's farm. There's several of them that if we lose that little mom and pop farms set up around this community, we're gonna spiral out of control. And I just wanna say, thank you very much for stepping up to the plate again, coming back. I think you will be able to pull it off and make sure that we are well protected as you do with the rest of your board on the conservation, and you got my blessings.
Outstanding.
So I know it was just after you got on, when I got elected, and both you and I and Veronica talked about making sure that we needed to get the agricultural committee back up and running. That was something that we talked about like 3 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because it was important to be able to, you know, what Townsend is all about, that's part of what Townsend is all about. I mean, the farming is a very big portion of it.
Yeah.
The right to farm, I think, would be a nice way to allow the rest of the residents to understand what that means, because a lot of people have their own interpretation of what that means.
There is a great deal of misinterpretation as to what that presents, and that's why the commission will be good to inform people as to why we're here and what the function of a commission is.
Yes.
You know, we're not there to help people put a farm stand up. We're not there to help people develop farms. We're there to inform people of what the farming community has available to them in towns and under that setting of agriculture. You know, let's
And
utilize it to
I
our
like
best.
I like your ideas in regards to educating the youth. I think one of the most important factors that we see right now in society is that there is a huge emphasis on trades and things like agriculture for jobs and for our youth. I think that's equally as important. And I'm a bit prejudiced because my grandparents are farming people, so I've grown up that way. So I think that that's equally as important. So I've done a little research and I've talked over with the town administrator. We don't really have to reestablish, it's already there.
Correct.
So we would
Just need to vote
basically,
to post for it.
yeah, we just need to post for it. So the individuals involved that want to get involved, they just need to do the volunteer
form.
Yeah.
Correct.
and put them all together. And then once we get those in, then we can, how are we gonna do this, Eric? We're gonna call a meeting once we get,
Yeah, we put it on an agenda to do appointments. I think we'd have to treat it, because the commission is basically defunct at this point in time. We'd have to treat it as the charter contemplates the initial setup, which is no fewer than 3 members shall derive income from farming, forestry, or agriculture-based enterprise in Townsend. So we have to have at least 3 people, and the other 2 members shall be interested in farming. And at those initial appointments, 2 members shall be appointed for 3 years, 2 members shall be appointed for 2 years, and 1 member should be appointed for 1 year. So we have to just sort out, we have the five that the board
who's
selects,
taking what term.
how we're gonna appoint those terms.
I
And then
wanna
the board
be-
itself could have to set up a meeting and set up, vote for chairs and vice chairs and that sort of stuff.
Correct. But I am, so everyone understands, I will be somewhat particular as to who we're gonna bring in on the commission in agriculture. I want the knowledge to be brought in. This is something I've spoken with Jimmy about with, you know, several commissioners are gonna be working with the younger kids, 4-H, introducing them to what the farming is, what their interest in farming is. Does anybody want to go to Stockbridge? Can we get some money available for grants to get some kids educated in doing it? We have some very educated individuals in our town, Stockbridge educated. I mean, I have DCR ready to go with me, fishing games on board with it. I mean, I've reached out to everybody. They know I'm getting it ready to get it going again. They go, Jim, whatever you need, we're there to give you a hand.
Okay, so
Just call upon us and
we
we're
would just
there.
need to make sure that we had, you know, whoever's
Our guidelines,
interested, get the volunteer forms submitted in, and then we can sit down separately before the meeting.
Yeah, we'd probably put it on, it's probably not enough time before the meeting on the 7th. But the second meeting in May, if we post it this week, seems like a reasonable amount of time to set up. So
That would be
the
good.
21st. The 21st of May would likely be the time when we would put it on an agenda.
And there's
Point.
some phenomenal talent out here,
Mhm.
you know? I have Steve at Dick's Market, it's Jimmy, whatever you need. And once again, another individual Stockbridge educated in agriculture, business, and et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
Those individuals are real helpful.
I think
And I
that
want a lot
because-
of other stuff. I want people to understand that our forestry is every bit of important in agriculture, our agricultural forestry. People look at a forest, well, what's agricultural about that? Every bit important is an open hayfield or anything. Look what I'm doing with the 5 acres I just developed for maple syrup. That's forestry,
Mhm.
and that's forestry agriculture. We're deriving a product from the forest. So that's why I'm working with the Department of Interior. My property is split up into agriculture and agricultural forestry. So I have my fingers in both, and I'm educating myself on both those ends. And I have 2 individuals in the forestry world, and they're ready to work with us. You know, mass forestry is like, Jim, you're spot on with that. And another thing Townsend should look at is our forest areas, to have an overview of them, to have them cut for the money for the trees, to have them called down and get them healthy. A lot of areas that I see in town are becoming overwhelmed. They're not being cut on a regular basis. And there's money that can be generated from that. And there's also the ability to keep those forests healthy.
Sounds like an agenda item for the first agricultural commission meeting.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, and that's gonna allow us also to be able to have such subject matter experts in that field, so that when something comes up in front of the board, we know that we can, you know,
Absolutely.
ask for the help for that.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of good expertise out there. Bob Purcell with DC Agriculture, you're going in the right direction.
So,
Bravo with the garlic and, you know, and doing grapes. He's real interested in that, and that's why I got a rep coming out next week to do a complete overview.
do we need to have
think-
you post it?
Yeah, I think that there would just be a vote from the commission to authorize the posting for the a vote from the board to authorize the posting for the agricultural commission.
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Teresa A. Marsh, yes?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton, Randy.
Okay, we'll get that posted and then.
And I wanted to bump one other thing that I'm in the big fight with right now, invasive species, vining and stuff. We've got a big area across the street on McGovern's property they're aware of. I'm working with them. That needs to be dealt with, or we're gonna have common reed taking over Ash Swamp area, and we cannot have that. Fish and Game is aware of it. I've spoken to the steward. He goes, what do you need, Jim? Keep me posted. We'll work with you.
Yeah, there's a couple other species that's been a concern.
Bittersweet, multifloral. I just got done close to 11 years fighting that one strip now that is in maple production, clearing weeds and everything. I'm working now with Gary with the farm next to me. I just put in 2 permits so we can now get in there and attack it. George and Hugh McGovern, who owns the property across from me, they said, Jim, whatever you want, we'll work with you. Tell us what you're gonna need in this regard. We're there for you.
All right, so we'll do what we can to get you up and running, and then we'll let you.
And we'll reach out to you to let you know the date and time of when we're gonna be appointing folks.
Outstanding.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
Did I go on too far?
No.
That's good.
It was
Well,
straightforward.
we want to educate the people.
Yep.
Did it seem businesslike and everything?
Yeah,
Not-
yeah.
Not forceful. It was pretty good.
Yeah, nobody's
All
knocked
good.
over anything on the table, so we're good.
Yeah, so far so good.
Outstanding. I appreciate you, you know,
Well, thank you for your service to all the other boards and the time we need,
I
all the
say
help
it
we can
again,
get.
Jim.
just starting. Now that I have no job anymore to go to, I'm just gonna start
We
hanging
can
out
give
down
you
the
a couple
town
more
hall
jobs. if
a
you
lot
like.
more. Careful what you wish for.
There you go.
They have to start catching cicada, right? Aren't they supposed to be?
No, we don't worry about those. We
No.
worry about tips right now. That's the big thing. My word. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Chaz.
All right.
Thank you, our friend from Conservation.
See you in the next
liaison.
meeting.
I hope to, consistently, right?
Yeah.
At every meeting?
Well, I'm usually online, but they asked me to come into the office.
Online isn't as good as seeing
I
your
know,
your
I'm
smiling
gonna,
face
I'm
at the
gonna do
meeting.
my best to be sitting right there.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, got,
Can you drop a sign off in front of the old tractor if you
Can't
want?
talk about that.
yeah, I can't talk about a public
Can't
meeting.
do that in this building.
Listen, I'm a farmer. I don't know all that stuff. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate your service and your help.
All right, we can jump down to 3.1. We are going to reappoint town properties committee members. These are members that are reappointed every year at this time, right?
Yes.
So I'll entertain a motion to reappoint Laura Schifrin, Donald Hayes, Kevin Smith, William Martin, Julie Byers, Vicky Tidman, effective 4/1/24 for a term to expire 6/30/2025.
So moved?
Second,
Any discussion on that? And we do have all of their applications in here, so I think we're good to go. All those in favor?
Tuesday, March, yes?
Shashank, yes.
Chad Sexton, Iranian, yes. Thank you, town properties. We want to jump down to 4.1, set election day, and vote on exemption to vote by mail. You want to talk about that, Eric?
Yes, so this is, as we discussed in the last meeting, in the event that there is a subsequent override ballot question needed, this would be the vote to set the date for that subsequent election date, and also to take a vote to authorize the clerk's office to not preemptively send out vote by mails to every registered voter. You could still vote absentee, but we'd just save the money from the thousands of dollars it costs us to send out preemptive ballots.
I just want to make this very clear what we're doing here, because there's obviously confusion as to what we're doing. We're setting this in case we need another ballot question for the override if the other towns don't pass and we have to be. We're not doing this if it fails here, just to come back and do it again, correct?
Well, not necessarily. No, we're doing this if for some reason the overrides don't pass in Townsend
Yeah.
and the school budget comes back and we still need an override. This would be to set a different number for a subsequent override.
That's what I'm getting at. It would be a different number.
Yes.
So it ain't like we're voting, the board saying we're approving to go forward. So if they don't vote for that money tonight in that meeting, at that election, well, we're just gonna put another one, try it again. It's for a specific reason that we have to come back because they've changed the numbers
Yes.
to do it again, be lower, whichever it is.
Yes.
I
And
just wanna make that very clear.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things that could happen. This would only be needed if for some reason there's the override fails in Townsend and the school budget somehow gets passed with a number that we don't have the funds to fund. So either the other towns declined it and the school budget comes back at a lower number, or Ashby and Pepperell pass the budget and we have to come up with another way to fund the amounts that we need to fund in our budget. But it would only be used if for some reason the override doesn't pass in Townsend on the 22nd.
So this is where I want to make sure I'm not confused, not the town, absolutely me. So it passes, let's say the override passes at the town on the ballot. It's already passed at a special town meeting.
Correct.
So we have override for the X amount for 2 votes, Neshoba and North Middlesex.
Correct.
But now it fails to pass in Ashby and
Pepperell.
Pepper. So we don't need as much money as we override. Can we just reduce the figure, or do we have to vote both on a ballot and a thing?
Well, if that's something that's a bridge that the Board of Selectmen would cross if and when that happens. You'd have to make a determination as to what to do with the budget, given the fact that the override passed. But if the override passed in Townsend, we would not need this subsequent election date.
Okay,
This is only if, for some reason, the override fails and the budgets are such that we still need funds via an override to improve the budget.
okay,
So my thought in this too, also, Teresa, is that I don't want to bootstrap us
right,
so that we don't have any options.
Right.
So if there are things that happen, this is going to allow us another option to be able to move forward. Right? If we don't have this, we're going to be scrambling, and it's going to cost the town more money.
And the reason why we have to vote on this today is because the state statute that authorizes us to exempt local elections from vote by mail requires that you do it 45 days before the date of that election. So if we're going to have that election on June 11th, which is the date that I would be proposing, we have to have that vote. We're not going to have another Board of Selectmen meeting before that 45 days would run. And all the vote about the exemption for vote by mail, just to make it very clear, is generally in the state, we have to send out, if we allow vote by mail, we have to send out ballots to every registered voter, regardless of whether they request them or not. And that's a very expensive proposition. So exempting us, so the election next week has been exempted, so people didn't get ballots in the mail. You still can come in and get a absentee ballot and vote absentee in the local election. It's just that we won't be mailing them out to every single house, registered voter.
yeah, and I know that the board is in favor of having an exemption of vote by mail, but I stand by, I actually did hear from people, and I understand the savings and whatever, and I don't think we need to discuss it, but I'm not in favor of having that exemption, just to make my stance clear.
So I think this would be ideally two separate votes. The first vote would be to if required, set a subsequent election date for June 11th, which is a Tuesday, June 11th.
So somebody want to
So
take that?
moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Teresa Marsh, yes?
Shawshank, yes.
Chad Sexton Meridian, yes.
And then a subsequent vote to a vote to exempt the local election, if needed on June 11th, from the vote by mail requirements.
So moved.
I have a question, so go ahead.
Well, if it gets seconded, then we can do it in discussion before we vote.
Second.
Discussion.
All right, so just what you said about your concern with us being exempt from it. Do we have any numbers of how many people are really being impacted by us taking that kind of a stance?
So I'll be honest with you, when we did this the last time we took this vote for the town election for next week, I did get a few numbers from the clerk's office. I don't have them with me right now. I think that the total number of ballots that gets mailed out is in the thousands. The total number of mail-in ballots that we get in a local election is, not very many. Barely
Number
into
roughly?
into the triple digits, barely. And many of those people who would be voting by mail would be eligible to vote by absentee ballot. So they can just request an absentee ballot from the clerk's office, it'll get mailed to them.
So by doing that, saving the town money by not sending to every household, the 9,000 registered voters in the town of Townsend.
Yeah, it's like the last time I talked to the clerk's office, it's like $1.25 to $1.30 per ballot.
Right.
And we have to mail out.
So, I mean, for the few hundred people, I get it, versus roughly the thousands of dollars we're paying that we don't have, we're struggling.
Yeah.
I think we're doing the right thing for the town, trying to save as much money as we can.
And this is, and again, I want to make it real clear, this is not something that I have just brought up. It's something that came up from the clerk's office, and we had detailed discussions with the clerk's office about it. We talked about whether or not there was concerns about whether or not folks were going to be disenfranchised by it. And based on the numbers in local elections, the amount of people who send in vote by mail in local elections is just not that many. There's just not that many votes by mail that come in on local elections. This is not exempting it for the presidential election, for instance. Everybody's going to get a ballot for the presidential election. So this is just for this one specific election that we may.
They may even
not
get
have.
2 or 3.
And so, yeah, this was something that was, this request came in concert with the clerk's office.
Okay.
And based on her experience doing this for many years, she doesn't believe it's going to cause a significant hardship to folks.
Right, and I just want to say that this is because of the financials, and that comes out of the clerk's budget, and it was not budgeted for.
Right.
So it would have to come out of other services within that particular department for us to be able to.
Or some other, we'd have to.
Right, we'd have to come up with.
Reappropriate some other money from some other
So
place.
outside of it, if it came from a decision just from the board, I would say I would need to talk to the clerk, but the clerk was the one that presented this to us before.
Yeah, this isn't our idea.
Right. So I want to make sure that that's clear as
No,
well.
this came from Kathy, and Kathy and I had words about it,
Yeah, no, I
but what
understand.
and again, I know where I stand on this, but, I don't want anybody that can't come to vote not be able to get their vote in.
Correct, and there is,
And there are
they can
there
still
are
get
people I
absentee.
know.
Yeah,
Right.
they can get absentee ballots, they absolutely.
they can't just because they're not able to, if they're, according to Kathy, if you're just not able to get out of your house that day, you can't get an absentee ballot. It's not,
I mean, I believe you can. You can get an absentee ballot. You can request an absentee ballot for almost any reason.
okay.
And certainly, if you are housebound, you're absolutely eligible for an absentee ballot.
Okay,
And you can
I
get them
heard
a
a
couple
little
of weeks in
bit.
advance. That's plenty
Yeah,
of time. It
Yeah,
doesn't mean that day.
yeah.
You know?
I mean, this is merely an effort to try and save the kind of the
All right,
excessive
I'm good.
cost for of the mailing.
Okay. Any other discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Jay Say wants to know?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
Okay, so I'll let the clerk's office know.
So that's June 11th.
Tentatively, right?
Tentatively, this is hopefully it won't be necessary. But in the event that it is, I will talk to the clerk's office and talk to the school districts. If and when it becomes necessary to set the ballot questions for that subsequent election, that would be a
So we
subsequent.
have the vote, so if we need it. then we're
So we need
good to go. Okay, thank you, Eric. 2.2, review and approve TASA one-day special license application for an event on 5/5/24. So this is a one day, you can come on up, Jim.
Oh, see, you get to go.
Oh, no.
Jump right in.
Don't be scared.
Pushing you right under that bus.
Yeah.
Don't worry until your back's over you.
So this is an event, it's gonna be held at 42 Mason Road?
Correct, it's Quantico Meadows.
Okay. And we got all the particulars with your application. Two things that I would like to see, we need to see an area that's cordoned off that you're going to, where the liquor is going to be, or is this just for beer and wine? Or is this?
Yes,
Just beer
beer
and wine?
stuff, yeah.
We need to see a roped off area where
Right.
the liquor or the beer and wine will be, and then the area that people will consume it. They can't be walking around in general. That's something that the police department, we give that to the police department so that, if they're called out there, they know that that's the area that it's supposed to be.
Okay.
And I think it states it.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah.
Is it roped off? Oh, I didn't.
I did in my messy, this is our first time doing this, so I was unclear on.
So you can see what
But
you
we're-
said, you can look if you look.
we're putting it
Under the
between the,
tent, yeah.
Okay.
soccer
So
field.
that's what they submitted anyway, so.
And then we said we would put tape around it, or, James said he might put snow fencing up.
Yeah, just as long as that, they know that that's a contained area for that, I'm okay with that. I didn't see that
Do you
picture.
want a copy of that? or-
No, that's, I'm sure Sabrina has it all in her stuff. The conditions as we have it, this is for the board. The license would be issued, for a Goal-a-thon event for TASA on the premises of Squanicook Meadow, 42 Mason Road, West Townsend, on 5/5/2024, and a rain date of 5/19, correct?
Correct.
11 AM to 4 PM, and is to be secured, section that alcohol is confined to the licensed secured area as outlined and provided, in the provided schematic, but that's a picture, so we'll change that. Licensee must stock, beverages within the licensed area. Licensee must purchase alcohol from a wholesaler, importer, manufacturer, or licensee. You can't purchase it from a package store, basically. Attendees cannot travel with alcoholic beverages outside the licensed secured area. The licensed secured area is a defined area of the event. The licensee is responsible, whether present or not, for ensuring that no disorder, disturbance, or illegality takes place or in a licensed premise, on a licensed premises. And the licensee is responsible, whether present or not, for enforcing the serving capacity of no more than 200 guests. Okay. So do we have, whoever is going to be serving is tip certified?
So Jen, we submitted a copy of hers, it expired, but she's getting it renewed on April 21st, so that was the only.
Okay, so that needs to be submitted to,
Yeah, I'll have it. I have it through my company.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So if it pleases the board, I'm gonna put that we receive a valid tips certificate.
Because as we have it, but it's gonna expire,
Right.
it's expired, so.
Right.
But you will be the person that's responsible.
Correct.
Okay.
So 8 would be to receive a valid tip certification for responsible server. Any other?
Just, I mean, it's part of the tip certification anyways, but I want to make sure that we say that anybody appearing under the age of 30 should be carded. I think that's part of your tip
It's
certification.
usually, I think it's 35 now.
No, okay.
Yes.
I'm old. It was 30 when
No, it's-
but then
it's
again,
not
I
up.
think the
Yes,
age was
I-
young.
yes, it is. It's part of that.
Okay, never mind, it's not needed then if we have a
Okay,
valid.
well,
She knows she has to do
makes
that.
my day when they ask me for it, but anyway. And I think,
It's
that's.
true, old people love to get caught. It's a beautiful thing, as far as I'm concerned. I just had it done recently, and I was warm and fuzzy after that happened.
So I don't have anything else.
Well, the way that it's stationed off that I saw in the picture, that children aren't going to be allowed in that area, right?
Correct, so
Yeah,
it's
okay.
between the soccer fields,
Okay.
all the other events with all the children's games is on the fields.
Okay.
And this is,
So basically, nobody past age 21 can go in.
right,
Yeah. I just want to make sure.
yep, it's a whole separate area.
Right, and then if there's any issues, the police will come out and they'll probably come up and talk to you, just so you know.
No problem.
All
Put
right.
signs up, do this, do that.
Yeah. So anything else, any other conditions you guys wanna?
Sabrina?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yes, we need an insurance certificate.
It's
So-
already here, right?
Well, it's the,
need to
quote,
bind
but
it,
she
right?
said if I sign it, then I have to pay for it right away, and I didn't want to pay for it without knowing we got the license, so.
So you have to submit it after.
Right,
So I can
correct.
put that in a condition if you want me
Right,
to.
Yeah,
so
submit,
yeah.
I just, like I said, I didn't want to pay for it and then have it, make the license get denied, then.
And this is a quote that they sent, right? That is
Is that a
valid.
binder?
Yeah, quote to that. Yeah. So all they have to do is say, okay, put it in effect, and all their coverages are right here.
Yes.
So I think just get the updated one,
Mhm.
submit it in the file.
Okay. And that would be number 9, submit an insurance certificate for date specified. Okay. All those in favor?
Teresa Marsh, yes?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chaz Sexton Duranian, yes.
Great, thank you.
Yep,
Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so Sabrina, we'll
Hopefully we
sign
make a
those,
lot of
and then when
money.
you get those documents, and then they're good to go, okay? All right. Next item is 4.2, first reading for the personnel policies, what we talked about before. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the personnel policies amendment regarding fractional employees. Eric, if you could be so kind.
Sure. So there's an amendment to the personnel policies. It's in the SharePoint. There's 2 parts to it. The first is actually a clerical error that we're clearing up. In one part of the personnel policy, it says the probationary period for all new employees is 1 year. Another part of the personnel policies is the probationary is 6 months. So the first section is to change the definitions of probationary period. The definition section is incorrect. It says 6 months. We changed that to 1 year.
Okay.
And then the second is Article 2 under 18 holiday. We would amend the section that starts with full-time employees to state full-time employees, part-time employees, and fractional employees, as defined in Article 1, would be eligible for the following holidays. And then there's a list of holidays. And then it deletes the following section that starts with part-time employees. It talks about different holidays for part-time employees, and the fractional doesn't. We're including that in that section. So that's all we would need to do is do those 2 amendments to correct the issue about fractional employees. And as we discussed last time, this puts it more in line with the way the union employees are treated. This only applies to non-union employees.
So we can consider this a first reading,
First reading,
and then
yeah.
we'll put it on the next agenda for a second reading and vote on the.
Yes.
Thank you for taking care of that for us.
Sure.
4.3, review and sign letter of acknowledgement to Fish and Wildlife. As we had talked about in our last meeting, it was a discussion with Ann Cadigan from the Department of Fishing, Gagnon, Fish and Wildlife, that there was an individual in town that was selling their property to the Fish and Wildlife. And she had asked that we submit a letter of approval, or that the town didn't have any issues with it. And at the time, we didn't have any issues with it. We still don't have any issues with it, as far as I know. But the letter is, Dear Ms. Gagnon, this letter is to acknowledge that the Townsend Board of Selectmen received your correspondence of March 4th, 2024, indicating that the Department of Fish and Game or Wildlife.
Fish and Game, according to her letter.
Fish and Game was considering the purchase of private land located within the town of Townsend, specifically lots with the assessor's map numbers 3640 and 35141. The town does not object to this transaction and appreciates your ongoing partnership with the Department of Fish and Game. Sincerely, or Chair of the Board of Selectmen. So if you have a motion to approve the letter to send out.
So moved.
Second?
Any other discussion?
Should we have the date we voted on in there, or it doesn't matter?
She just asked for a letter. that
Okay,
we
so
had
letter,
no problem
okay.
with it.
She's not looking for a vote. She was
No,
just looking for a
okay.
letter.
No, then, no, I'm set. Thank you.
Anything from you, Joe?
No, good.
All those in favor?
Teresa Marsh, yes?
Joseph Shank, yes.
Chaz Sexton Duranian, yes.
Jazz, do you have I don't mean to interrupt, do you have a amount of land, an acreage number that was, if that's going to Fish and Game? Is it a budding
Yeah.
lot? Is it,
It is,
We have
it
that-
abuts, land that they already have,
okay, okay.
and it was, I wanna say one was 45 acres.
I can find it. I had it pulled up on the town mapper, so we've got,
And it was a private sale. It had nothing to do with us.
one of the lot sizes 29 acres, the other lot is 42 acres. So it's about a little over, it's like 71 acres total.
Okay, I just now was on this, it's the west property.
That is correct. There's two lots that were owned by the West,
Which I am familiar with. Okay.
which,
Were these chapter 61 properties?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't
I
believe so.
don't think it
It
had.
was private sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they didn't have to inform us or anything before they took it over. So,
It was being held under a 61A.
After, I did a public records request to get the information. When I checked the assessor's map, I believe it's categorized on the text as.
Because,
Yeah, I apologize. These are under the assessor's map. They are chapter 61 lots.
So have they been cleared, what they needed to do?
Well, I don't think the transactions,
We, as Conservation Commission, we would receive notice that if the town has interest in purchasing the properties.
I think that would happen when the transaction hasn't gone through yet. So they were still contemplating purchasing them. They hadn't
Because it
actually.
usually would be CC'd conservation.
Well, all boards and.
Correct, but all the way down through, but I think this strikes a point as to where we are with conservation. Now, what they will do with that 61A, they will not go into agriculture setting.
Or
And- Correct,
taken out of current use and be used for other things if possible.
But if it's in 61A, doesn't the town have first refusal?
correct.
Chapter 61 means at the time of sale. So when the sale goes through, they inform the municipality and say, this is happening. So as the time when we met with Ms. Gagnon, the sale hadn't, they weren't
Do
weren't
you
even
know
at
what
the
the sale
stage.
amount is?
No.
So is that I'm asking out of ignorance, is that a loophole where they don't have to tell you what the sale amount will be until
I think
the
there's an
last minute, so that
obligation.
you can't
There's an
allocate the
obligation.
funds?
Well, I don't think I don't know that it's a loophole. They don't technically, they're supposed to inform us of this, but they don't need, because it's a private sale, they don't need approval of the municipality to do it. When Fish and Game acquires land, they have to notify us. It doesn't have anything to do with chapter 61. When chapter 61 transfers title, there's a separate requirement that they notify the municipality, and it has to have the terms of the sale. But their notification was under a separate requirement under the Fish and Game that they notify municipalities when they're acquiring land.
But
So-
Jim's point being, were we offered first option on it? Because if I go to sell my property,
But that doesn't happen until there's a sale.
They're not required to offer it to the municipality first.
okay,
They were, if you were gonna sell your land,
yes,
you could do a P&S,
correct.
and at that point in time, they have to notify the town. But until you do that P&S, they don't have
The
to.
town has the first refusal of it because it has been in agriculture for X amount of years, and I have to pay 5 years back taxes to bring it back out of 61A to be able to sell it. But the town has the option to say, well, you were in agriculture for all these years, we're gonna buy this property and maintain it as agriculture in Townsend.
The town has the right of refusal, but I think we're confusing about what the trigger of that is. Because I don't think the trigger of that is until there's a purchase and sale agreement
The
between.
sale of such.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right, I'm gonna try to help clarify this. I was involved in a piece of property that I bought, such as this is going down. It was in 61A. And once they wanted to take it out of 61A, it had to be offered to the town first. So they had to come to the town, say, we're selling this land in the harbor. We want to take it out of 61A. This is what we're asking. do you want to buy it? And if they wanted to buy it, then I couldn't buy the property, they would. And then it went on. That's what I went through when I bought that piece of land.
Correct.
So I want to make sure we don't do the wrong thing here.
This
We
is
need
how
to
I've always
verify that.
understood it to be.
Sorry to throw.
But there has been no delineation of sale. That's what I think triggers what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, but
I think we're likely to get that notification relatively soon, because, but the Fish and Game operates on cycles so that they have to put, she was talking about, there's one in the spring and then one in the fall.
One in March and there's one in September.
Yeah, where they put forward their programs for things that they want to purchase. And that's when the funds get allocated and when they start working on the sale. So my anticipation is that you will be hearing from the Wests sometime soon.
Once it comes
saying-
up to where they're negotiating a sale, that's when we'll find out about it. But for right now,
The
yes.
first option of refusal.
But I will verify all this with the assessor's office, because they're the ones who are the experts on this.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who,
Yeah, just check
I
that.
just would hate to see another piece go to an organization that has a stronghold on this community that is essentially choking us to death.
I have to agree with Jimmy, because not only do they take that property out of an agriculture setting, they also have they don't pay taxes on it either.
Well, I want to pull the discussion back to what the discussion is about, and the discussion is about the letter that we were asked to send. When Eric has the details on it, then why don't we sit down and talk about it? Because I think it's important that we flesh out all of that. Yeah, no, that's all right.
Appreciate you talking about it. It wasn't on my.
Yeah.
And it is relative, because that's the reason why I'm.
No, I understand that, and because it's a private sale, and it really they were approaching us to let us know that that's what they're looking at. So it wasn't.
And I think we all should respect the fact that if it didn't go to Fish and Game, it could go to a contractor, and a bunch of pretty houses could go in too.
Well, that I'm aware of as well.
So
or if you go to a nonprofit that also doesn't pay taxes.
or we could have deep pockets in agriculture and go buy it and farm it.
There you go.
So without further ado, I'm gonna move on.
Move on, we'll get that one done.
4.4, discuss potential Greenville Road zoning warrant article.
Who's coming up?
So this is, and just to let folks know, when we put this on, there was a question from the gentleman who owns the property, Mr. Tosi?
Yeah.
Regarding whether or not the board would be willing to put on a warrant article like this. And I explained to him, because we were closing the warrant for the special town meeting today, that if he wanted to make sure it got on, he should put forward a petition, because that's the only way to ensure that we get on. The board could say no, and then it wouldn't be on. So after this agenda was put forward, Mr. Tosi came in with the required 100 signatures, and they've already been certified by the clerk's office. So that process has taken place.
Yeah.
You could kind of let the board what you were.
So basically what we want to do, it's a piece of industrial land right in front of the landfill. There's an existing residential house on it. I want to convert that house to residential. I want to put a house behind it and maybe one. The actual easement for the dump is on my property. To the left of the easement is where the other houses would go. Everything to the right is wetlands. It's not agriculture, I can assure you, no tomato plants, no, it's all good.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate that.
But it's less impact than what's otherwise I'll go a metal building, which I've done. And there's all residential houses to the left and to the right of it and across the street. So a couple more houses I think would be less impact than a steel building with more traffic, trucks and equipment. So I want to get on the special agenda there and see if I can convince the town to say yay instead of nay.
So I just want to start, did you ever bring this forward to the zoning board and see if they would make a change? Or do you let go right to petition?
Just, the ZBA can't change it from industrial residential.
They can't?
You have to,
Okay.
you have to do the
Has to
what
go
Mr.
to
Chelsea said.
special town meeting.
I tried that.
Okay, but so you did, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I thought they could in certain circumstances. Okay,
So I guess I just got a couple of questions. First of all, I strongly believe person owns the property has the right to do what they want to do with the property.
Yep.
That is your right. My only thought would be, we don't have much industrial land in town.
Correct.
Problem we hear all the time, town meetings, we gotta get more business in town, because we gotta get, everyone wants their tax rates down. So, and I understand that. So I know there's the big industrial piece before the dump. The dump is all part industrial, and all this is, all the way up, there's several industrial pieces of property
With residential houses on them.
with residential, but they are industrial, I get that, you know what I mean? But it's an ideal spot. For years, everyone talked, well, that's a perfect area
Well, when you
to.
say tax base, there's no
No
difference in
There
tax
isn't.
base.
I get
So
that.
3 or 4 houses probably gonna generate more tax base than a one steel building, in my opinion, but I don't know the.
No, and I get that. I understand that. I'm just, my question would be, you know, do we have to change it? Or is there a way around? I mean, I just hate seeing losing industrial land. That's the problem. We got so little of it
I
in our
agree.
community.
I put up a metal building and you can't see a house from it, and the people that were against me was amazing. They didn't want it there. It took me 2 years to get permitted.
Yeah, no, and I'm not here to, once again, it's your
And I don't know
land.
what the right answer is there,
Yeah,
you know?
you
They
know.
don't like it either way.
You know, damned if we do, damned if we don't.
Right.
You know what I mean? But,
Yep.
you know, I mean,
That's what we deal with all the time.
No, I get
You know,
it, trust
we-
me.
and the
we
thing of
always
it
do that.
is, this is the right way to do what you did. That way, it kind of, my opinion, for me, I think it's better. I don't have to have my hands involved in this. You put it on, you know what I'm saying? And someone can't say, well, the Board of Selectmen did that again. You know,
I mean, if there's another way around it, I don't know it.
I don't, you know, because you want to kind of put a few houses in there.
Well, yeah, my daughter wants to put one in there, and if I'm gonna put one for her, I'm not gonna put a building next to it. I might as well put a couple more if I can. I haven't tested, so I'm not sure what I could get, you know?
So, and just to, procedurally speaking, because this did go through the petition process, it is on the special town meeting warrant. We're gonna talk about next. It's already, it's there. Because they got the 100 signatures.
So, and this is the process. I see it as a democratic process.
Yeah.
They
Did
put in
that,
a
it's the right thing to do.
petition. They got the proper signatures and you know, as
Just
far
move
as,
on.
yeah, let the town vote for it. But I will say, I agree, it's our only last industrial portion of it, but, it's in the hands of the voters, so.
And do you have a scheduled time for the planning board?
No.
I do have a question from the chair of the planning. Lori, did you want to have input?
Lori, you're muted if you're.
Lori?
Why would that go to planning board as opposed just to, building inspector if it's broken off the way it's supposed to be? Why is there an issue with planning board? I don't know why you would go there.
No. For a zoning change, it needs to go and the planning board needs to opine as to whether or
Oh.
not they would approve the
Okay.
zoning change.
I'm sorry about that. I was having trouble with my computer. I'm not speaking as the planning board right now.
Okay,
I just have a question in my mind, which I thought is different than what you're going through right now. And that is, if you have commercial or industrial property, My understanding is that you can by right use it for a lesser impact or whatever. If you change it to residential, that is actually easier to get than industrial or commercial. So if you wanted to use it and somebody else knows different on the law, please let me know. But you can, it doesn't mean you wouldn't have to go through a public hearing or get your permits or anything like that. But my understanding is that you would be able to get your residential permits. So that's all I wanted to, I bring that up because I've heard this before. So you might want to just look into that part of it too. Because you may
So
need to
would
know.
go ahead. Would that have to go in front of the planning board before I even went for town meeting to get your approval to go that route?
No, if you're by right, and you sound, I mean, I from what you said so far, I'm thinking that you're, like approval not required, like an A&R lot. Do you have enough frontage for the 3 lots or whatever you're talking about?
Yeah.
1,540
Yeah.
feet.
So
Sorry.
you would go before planning, but it would be for an A&R lot. So if you, and you would make that application for approval not required or A&R lot, and that would go through, you'd have to have all the particulars you need. If it's approved by our staff, our administrator and land use, that it meets all the requirements for A&R, then basically planning board just looks at it and signs off on it because there are no requirements from planning board, but that it meets all the requirements needed for the A&R.
When you say the A&R requirements, you mean frontage and setbacks, basically?
Yep, basically.
So I would still have to go against for town meeting, in front of town meeting or not?
No.
I do not believe so, but
Larry,
because
Larry.
you were told to get the petition, I would find out from somebody, but in my, I'm not an attorney, but to my knowledge, you can go for a lesser use. You do not need a zoning change to go residential.
Hey, Laurie, I think I can help you with that a little bit. I think you may have been on, remember back when I bought my property on Main Street, that was industrially zoned, and we were going through the process, and they said, if I got that changed to, and I wanted to keep it commercial, but if I just wanted to use it as a house, I could do lesser use without doing the special town meetings that we did. So I think you are correct in saying that if he meets the setbacks, he meets all the frontages, he can go in there, break this up, however many lots he has, because it's lesser use as residential versus industrial.
Yeah, and the only thing about that is once you go to a lesser use, you can't go back.
Nope.
So in other words, you're not going in for a change of zoning, you're going in, you're going to get permits on a lesser use. But once you use the lesser use, you cannot get the commercial industrial back again.
So part of this land is 6.5 acres, is an existing residential house on there. Wouldn't that be already considered less of use than the industrial? Shouldn't that be
Yeah.
under that category?
Yeah.
Well, it's not on the.
In my
assessment
opinion
map.
and from my experience, but again, I'm not an attorney, so I'm just telling you what I know from my experience.
Oh, you're right.
So just looking at the zoning ordinance now, it's got industrial districts and permitted uses in the industrial district, and residential is not listed as a permitted use. So it doesn't appear as though, according to the zoning bylaw,
The industrial part,
the
right?
residential is not permitted in an
What
industrial
about in
lot.
commercial, under commercial?
Under commercial, let's see, there's a couple of different commercial districts.
Yeah, I guess downtown and,
So
There's
in
an
a
existing house
downtown
there.
commercial district, you can have a detached single family. In a neighborhood commercial district, you can have a detached single family. In an outlying commercial district, you can have a detached single family. But in an industrial district, there's no permitted residential uses in an industrial district.
Correct. So his question is, and I agree with him, is that he already has a residential house in
So that's a
Industrial.
pre-existing non-conforming use.
right.
That
So it's
one
not,
lot,
I mean, that one lot would be
65.
pre-existing non-conforming, you can maintain it as residential.
So it's best bet to go forward. with
So
the-
it's 6.5 acres, why couldn't, if I could meet the I couldn't take a piece of my industrial frontage
No, you
Exactly.
to make
There you
that
go.
work.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I believe it just based upon the bylaw, you're going by the right route to put it in front of town meeting.
That being said, what we need to do is it's already on the special.
Yeah.
You put in the petition, it's on the special town meeting. We can sit down and have a conversation with the building commissioner and the planning staff and make sure that they have the same, feeling about what you need to do to get what you're looking for.
But we want to get it on the,
Good idea.
Because you can always take no action on it that night.
Yeah, if we figure out that, hey, you can just do this, just put residential on it, then what we'll do is, as Joe said, just move to take no action on it at the town meeting, and then they'll just drop it.
but I agree procedurally, we
on.
should put it on there.
Yeah,
just
you
to-
should put it on so you can,
Okay.
you can,
Who
because
have you
I,
talked to so far in town hall?
Um, Janet and Kathy,
Okay.
Okay,
that's
and
basically
what
it.
was Janet's take? What did she?
Janet's take was, she read the same thing he read, and she said, you can't do it.
that would be my take on the industrial, different from commercial.
Yeah, commercial.
And
'cause mine-
industrial,
That's what, it was industrial. We changed it to commercial only for the reason we ever wanted to change the property. It's lesser use, like Chloe said.
right.
So, am I already residential now, or I'm pre-existing now? That's industrial?
So you've got
industrial.
two properties,
Yeah,
they're both industrial.
Mhm.
One of them has a pre-existing non-conforming residential use on it, which
Right.
means it's legal, and you can keep the residential use there. There's nothing, we don't, your grandfather did,
Right.
basically.
but I can't do anything
But you
with it.
can't do anything on the other lot, or you can't
Take
put
it.
another house on that existing lot, because that would be expanding.
And it
The
only has
nonconformity.
250 feet, 251.
Yeah, you got it,
So,
right.
you can't get two lots out of it,
I
you know
know.
what I mean?
No,
So,
no, I need the other piece.
So I think the way that if you're looking to put a residential on everything, I think that the safest thing is to go the route that you're going.
Right,
And then we'll check. If for some reason there's a difference of opinion, we'll let you know, and we can drop it before.
take no
Before
action
town
that
meeting.
night. Yeah.
and this will be something I'll know a week or so prior.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I can talk to the staff. I can't talk to them tonight, but I
Right.
can talk to them tomorrow or the day after and try to make a determination.
Right,
I
so
think,
I think we should, I'll entertain a motion to, allow the Greenville Road zoning, warrant article.
So moved.
Second,
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
She saying Marsh, yes?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes. So you work it out with Eric, and then if it comes to the point where you don't need the warrant article, then when we get to the warrant article, we'll just say that you've withdrawn it.
Take no action.
Yeah, take no action.
And this is special town meeting, right, not town meeting, this goes,
they happen at the same time.
oh yeah, it goes before town.
It'll
meeting?
be before town meeting, yes.
All right.
It'll be will be one of the last things at the special town.
All right,
Okay,
great,
good.
thanks for your time.
All right, thank you.
Good luck with that.
Thanks.
Hopefully we can help you guide you in the right
I hope
direction.
so, I want you yay, Joe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I believe people have the right to do their thing, man. We gotta abide by our rules and move on.
Yeah,
That's all.
thanks again.
Yeah.
All right, good job.
4.5, vote on the special town meeting warrant articles.
So the special town meeting tentatively currently has 15 warrant articles on it,
The special?
the special. Um, The first one is a kind of a standard article, the one about reports, vote to see if the town meeting will hear reports of the boards and commissions.
The reading of the reports.
Yes. So the second one, then we have a series of free cash articles. The first is the the general insurance cost for the town was underfunded last year because we didn't have the final numbers when we went to set the budget. So this is not an increase that we didn't know about, but it wasn't in the original budget numbers from last year. So that's $12,457.
So. Talk about that in the budget.
The third warrant article is we had a request from the Board of Health to set aside funds for housing relocation in the event that they need to condemn properties. So the amount that we put in was $5,000. Because it would be in a special time meeting warrant article, that means it could just sit there until they used it. It wouldn't go away after a particular year. And so it would allow them to if they were required to relocate someone for condemnation purposes, this would provide them.
We have had situations where we would have had to use that, and it would be advantageous for us to put that in a fund and do it this way as opposed to putting it in their budget, because the budget would automatically go back.
Yeah, it'd go away.
We'd have to vote every year.
But this way, the 5,000 will just sit there until they use it.
Yeah.
Article 4 would be 22,000 to supplement the election budget for next year. So when we talked about the budgeting, the clerk's office requested an increase in her budget, basically doubling her budget over FY24 because of the presidential elections and the amount of elections that we're anticipating in FY25. So in an effort to not put that as part of the general fund budget that comes out of the taxes, we would be taking the portions, the increase out of free cash, and our general fund budget request would be reduced by. So on here it's 22,000. That's actually changed to 20. But before I post it on here,
And that's because I want all this mailed out for the president. It's
going to pay for all the mailing of all the
gonna
ballots.
pay for the millions I want.
And I talked to the clerk about this, and she understands why we would reducing her general fund request by 20,000 and putting it into a. And this way, in the event she doesn't spend $20,000, it will stay there, and it will be there the next time she has a large election request.
We don't have to reappropriate when we have an extra election in the year.
Right. The article number 5 is to see if the town will appropriate $5,000 for the Conservation Commission for education, outreach, and training. The Conservation Commission had put in a request as part of their general fund budget to set aside some money for education, outreach, and training on an annual basis. Because of the budget situation that we're in, we're going to put aside $5,000 in a special town meeting warrant article. So they could use that, but it would also sit there. So if they didn't use it all one year, it would roll over to whenever they used it. So if they spent $2,500 one year, they would still be there. They wouldn't have to come in and make another request. It'd still be that money until they spent all $5,000.
And is that the dollar amount they requested?
Well, the original request was for $8,000, I believe. Is that right, James?
That's what I thought.
Yeah, 82 or 750, something like that.
Yeah. So the 750, I think, was just a carryover from the previous year. So we paid that.
No, it was pretty, it was like, because I kept saying 10 grand, and we went through it all, and it ended up being like 87 or something. My question I have, if it's okay with the chair, is this fund only going to be used for education outreach? Could we, in the future, request more funds to start to build a fund that we could use to buy a piece of property or to maintain properties?
Sure.
That's
So
the other thing, is maintaining the properties we have.
there's a couple of different things. So the first would be, this fund would be set up for whatever we put into the special warrant article for its purpose. So what I've listed in the warrant article is for education, outreach, and training. Yep. If you wanted to put another thing in there, but it would just be for that $5,000. The second thing is there does exist a conservation trust revolving fund that is funded by, as I found out, forestry proceeds from conservation land. So there's no funds in that now, but if the Conservation Commission could identify parcels that are under their jurisdiction and enter into a forestry contract to selectively, to have forestry selectively cut those properties, the funds, the proceeds from that would go into that revolving fund, which has a much broader ability for the Conservation Commission to use.
Right, your spending isn't limited.
Right,
Now, you have a lot of conservation restrictions that are under your control, correct?
conservation properties,
Yeah,
yes.
so that,
But a lot of them are postage stamps.
Right.
understood,
Which we can't do
understood.
anything with, we can't even sell them to abutters because they're part of the open space requirements.
Correct.
But yes, the old Meeting House Park is conservation land.
Oh, I have absolutely no idea. It's an excellent question.
I think it is.
Because there is a fund associated with that property that's separate as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, so,
Which we don't, we try, so there's been a lot of questions of what can we use this, there's a trust fund there too in the listing.
So we're
It's just
deviating from,
questions.
from what we're here
But I don't,
for,
yeah, I don't
but yeah,
want to
we,
deviate
but
from the
that is
conversation,
something
so
to
you guys
look,
can get-
yeah, that's something for you to look into though, because you do have an existing revolving fund.
yeah, so,
that-
but the
that
idea
you'd
for
be
this,
able to-
the idea for this $5,000 is education, outreach, and training. And that's what the $5,000 was for.
And we don't lose it if we don't use it all. And
Correct.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
It's taken a lot of work.
I know we talked about this back and forth a little while,
So I
so.
appreciate you doing that, for us.
Well, there's also, I agree with Conservation Commission and training. I think that's really important. There's also certifications that are involved in some of your positions,
That-
correct?
And that is funded,
I actually think there's a line under the Conservation Commission General Fund.
Well, that's what I'm looking at here, that
Usually
there's,
the
you,
WPA fund is.
no, there's something else about that. There's a lot of different things and I'm so fuzzy with it and because the WPA, we can draw,
For our
But we can't-
MACC
yeah, but that has to go into the budget.
budget.
And
Okay,
approved by the budget. It's a funding item or way.
for training?
I'm probably butchering this too.
Yeah.
Because I get 5 different answers some days.
For training you're talking about?
Yes.
Because you have in your budget $500 for training.
Yeah, and that
That
training
was
is
a
not just
Is that a
for,
carryover?
No, that was.
No?
No, that's been-
So there are trainings that are outside of MACC, which is Mass, yeah.
Association of Conservation Commission.
Commission.
So there's other training, avenues that,
You guys can use, yeah.
But the idea would be this, you guys can designate how that $5,000 you want to spend in those buckets, that education, outreach, and training.
And it
One of
doesn't
the
go
other
away
things
after
was-
the year.
Right.
You can keep that there.
One of the items that we had was dues and fees, because our dues for MACC have gone up. There's also other professional organizations that we want to become part of that will have a yearly renewal.
Right, so you have professional services, you have $500 on dues and memberships, you have $500 as well in your budget.
And some of these other classes that are available to go to, I've utilized them in the last few. I've been sent to 2 classes at Walden Woods, I've been sent to several classes in Framingham, and, they exceed what you could ever possibly learn at an MACC.
Doing it this way with the 5,000, you'll
Right.
be able to
So-
decide in your board that you can go
Not
there. and-
discretion.
To answer
Exactly.
your question, Trust, the $500 that you're seeing, and I sent you the budget worksheet that we did internally
Mhm.
with what was requested, from the staff and myself, and the commission, and what was submitted to Eric. And I believe the $500 for the dues, and I know the $500 for the dues and subscriptions is a carryover. We requested originally $1,000.
Yeah.
Because I think, Stormwater Association is $220. We're not members of the National River, Watershed.
I think we did.
No, we're not. And that's just a donation, but you still want, you still have to account for it.
Well, your dues and membership is consistently over the past 1, 2, 3, 4 years has been 500.
Yeah.
Your training has been zeroed out except for this year. This year, you're asking for $500. That's all I was saying. So with the special with 5,000, you have now a pool of money for training that the extemporaneous training outside of what you normally do on a yearly basis. So you'll have a yearly basis training and then extra money to be able to do that. Okay.
We're getting something anyway.
I don't wanna, drag out your meeting, and I appreciate
No.
everyone talking about it. We're in a special area. We had a meeting today with Mass Wildlife. It's a very big thing, and community outreach is one of the biggest things we struggle with.
So if you communicate with us,
Yep.
we'll take care of it.
And Eric's gonna pick that money tree tomorrow.
As
I'll
Teresa
hold
was
the
great.
ladder for him if he needs me there.
I reached out to Teresa, and she was responsive, and Joe, our past liaison, everyone, all trying to work together.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's, if the more information we have, the better decisions we all can make, I think.
And that's with agriculture, works with conservation works with agriculture, we'll work together on all of these things.
Thank you.
All right, Article 6, Eric?
Article 6 is the $1,000 for the Historic District Commission. They had put in a request to also do some training, some materials and supplies, including, they wanted to try to put up some signage around the historic districts, so folks are aware. So rather than put that in any budget article, we're putting that, the same thing we're doing, is to put it in a free cash article.
I suggested that to them, so I'm glad they're moving forward.
Yeah, they came in and said to Chaz and told them that was the best thing to go forward with. Article 7 is, this is a special time meeting warrant article that we had for a while for workers' comp and VFIS injured on duty claims. It's for $5,000. There was a $5,000 warrant article like this for a long time, and then it got zeroed out. So we're just reinstating that article.
So what's it for? Just to keep on hand in case someone,
Yep. To keep on hand in case we have to pay. The VFIS claim, do we have one that's outstanding, Sabrina?
Not sure we're going to be for that one, but
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, but this is kind of going forward to make sure that we have those funds in case of emergency. The Article 8 is the $6,000 for the purpose of paying for CDL training for highway department staff, as we discussed when we were talking about the highway department collective bargaining agreement. Article 9 is $14,500 for the purpose of contracting with a consultant to assist the bylaw review committee. They came in and made that pitch to the Board of Selectmen about getting a consultant. I think there may be some changes to that proposal, because I did look at the proposal that came forward from the entity that had made the initial pitch to the bylaw review committee, and I'm not sure it encompasses exactly what the town's looking for, but this at least would give them some funds to try and find a consultant that would do what they're looking for, which I think is to do some sort of a substantive review of some of the bylaws. Article 10. This is a request from the fire department to appropriate $35,000 from ambulance receipts to fund the equipment for the heavy rescue. For the
new truck that we just got.
Yeah, the new used truck that we got. Yes, and so
new to us.
yes, yeah. So that was a request. So that would not be coming from free cash. That would be coming from ambulance receipts. Article 11 is a snow and ice transfer. This number is going to change because unfortunately this number was before the snow that we had on April 4th.
And ice costs more than snow.
So I'll find out from that the payroll and expenses for that are going to be on the warrant for tomorrow. So we'll have an updated amount for that.
Okay.
Now, are we increasing it for fiscal year 25? Did we decide on that?
In the current draft of the budget, there is not an increase.
Okay.
Just because of the other budget challenges that we were looking at, that was not increased, but it's something that we thought about. And then the
article we
discussed, the zoning bylaw for 39 Greenville Road and 0 Greenville Road to go from industrial to residential. So that's what we just talked about. Then there are 3 real property articles. The first two are as a result of the RFPs that we signed off on for the Old Central Fire Station and for the Old Harbor Fire Station. This is to have town meeting formally approve the 50-year lease with Townsend Fire EMS Relief Association. Because the timing of that lease that obviously requires a town meeting vote. And then Article 15 is the article that we discussed about 182 Warren Road. And just getting authorization from town meeting to.
Oh, there's 13 and 14, right? Two different.
Yes, 13 was for
The harbor.
the Old
and
Harbor,
Center.
and 14 was for Old Center.
Okay,
Yeah.
just to clarify that, yeah.
Then 15 is the 182 Warren Road. This would all be subject to a review by town council, so I would send this out to Adam tomorrow if the board approved it. And in generalities, we'll get the numbers obviously finalized and then have it reviewed by town council.
Teresa, you okay with that?
Yeah.
Joe?
I'm good.
Anybody have any, these are,
No, this is just what we talked about.
okay, so, yeah, we'd just be looking for a vote to close the special town meeting warrant and approve the warrant articles as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Just looking at one thing, I thought.
Sorry.
Question on.
I dropped that on you.
All those in favor?
Teresa Marshall?
Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton-Duranian, yes.
Okay,
All right,
so that's the special town meeting.
right, and we go to the annual.
We're gonna go to the-
That was a different agenda number, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's 4.6.
Thank you, gents.
Thank you guys for all your service and your work. Keep it up.
I say the same to you three too, for all your work. Thank you.
It's easy.
Okay, so.
Everyone laughing at me.
The annual town meeting, there are a lot of procedural ones in here that you're gonna see repeated from the last annual town meeting. So the first one is to authorize the Board of Selectmen to appoint all the town officers. That is a standard one that's in every annual town meeting. The second one is to hear the reports of any committees, boards, or commissions. That's again a standard one. Article 3 is the revolving fund articles. So these are the revolving funds, including the 3 that were created last year for the police department. The last 3 firearms licensing, public records request in detail.
And there are increases that we talked about too.
And there are some increases in there that we talked about. And so those, I've sent out the information to all the boards just to make sure, or the departments to make sure that we were having appropriate levels of request. And so I believe that is finalized. What is currently Article 5 is the operating budget. It's likely to be Article 4.
Well, you have Article 3 is the revolving funds, and then you have a blank Article 4.
Yeah, so I think the operating budget will be Article 4. Others will have to be renumbered. I apologize.
Just checking.
So this is the numbers in yellow are the numbers as of today. They may obviously might change before the final setting of the budget. That's the final sum of the budget. We are waiting on the final number for the water enterprise. I'll be working with Melissa and Dave on that this week. So I should have that relatively soon on the transfer for funds, the non-general fund line items. The functional segments, the section is accurate as of today. And then underneath that, we're going to add the omnibus budget, which is it's a separate document that we're talking about tonight. It's not in
Under
the
the functional section, under highway and streets, is the decrease because we got the additional funding? So we're able to decrease, or why is that decrease so much?
No, that decreases because last year we had $150,000 in paving money,
Okay.
and that got taken out this
That's
year.
okay, thank you.
So the debt service, if you look at the debt service, the other one that has a significant drop, that is only temporary because we haven't taken out the borrowing for the second fire engine yet. So when we start borrowing for the second fire engine and the ambulance, which we anticipate doing next spring in FY '26 budget, we're gonna start paying on those debts, and so that amount will go up. So that's a temporary dip in the debt service. And then the omnibus budget, which is the next article under the,
this insurance part right here. So you got insurances, right? 7.8. Now I see we're putting extra money in because the budget that was submitted on the estimates from the insurance company, we're not still in that same kind of a dilemma. We're gonna get an estimate and then whack us more, or have we got other people bidding on this, or what are we doing with
no, so last year when we set the number for the budget last year, we hadn't gotten the final numbers from the people that we had asked to bid on the budget number, on the insurance number. So we had that number before town meeting, but the budget didn't reflect that number. So but there wasn't an increase during this year that wasn't budgeted for. It was a number that we had last
Because
year.
I remember we had this conversation that, there's other people that were bidding, but this company came in a little bit less, the original company, so we went with them, but it was an estimate. And then I see we're giving more money now because the estimate was more money than the estimate they presented.
No, the estimate was not more money than the estimate. Their estimate is what we got billed. But that amount was not, when we set the budget, that amount was on the budget. The budget carried over a level funding from insurance from the year before. So this is just the increase from FY '23 to FY '24. In this case, so we don't have the final numbers for insurance at this year. We have 2 people who are submitting insurance proposals, but I don't have numbers from them. So the number that's in the budget is just me, basically I added it like 7.5% to the insurance amount, but it may be different than that. And so we have to make a determination as to whether we try to change it at the last minute, or whether we just ride with the number that's in the budget and understand that later on in the year, we're gonna have to either have extra money if it comes in less, or we'll have to supplement if it
what we
comes in
did
more.
last year.
Right.
We stayed with what we had in the budget, knowing that we didn't have the final numbers.
So I did build in a slight increase over last year, but I don't know whether or not that's realistic. Okay, so Article 6 is just the majority vote to transfer free cash if necessary to balance the fiscal year budget. I don't anticipate at this time needing free cash to balance the budget, but we could keep that in there as a catch-all just in case something goes sideways. Article 7 is to fix the salaries of the compensation of elected officers. That's because for the town clerk salary. Article 8 is, and I'm getting the final numbers from Dave, but this is to vote on the water department budget.
Yeah, that's last year's number.
Those are last year's
Okay.
numbers, so I don't have the final numbers from Dave yet on last year's numbers, either for the budget or for
So that would
the
change.
transfer.
Okay.
So those numbers are gonna change.
Oh, yeah, they will.
I was gonna say, I remember that
Oh,
number
yeah,
from
they
last
will.
year. I don't think
Yeah,
it's gonna be the
they're-
same this year.
They're doing a good job over there,
yeah.
we'll say that.
Article 9 is the voted on capital articles. So this does look slightly different from the last numbers that Teresa had submitted, because one of the items that was put in the capital plan was a lease for highway for a cat. And after checking it with Katie, those funds were actually allocated in an earlier capital plan. And that money already exists, so we don't need to borrow it again. So this is less. It's like $13,000 less than
Good, okay.
That's good.
what was proposed.
Do we want to get that money to fire?
No comment. The next, Article 10, is the prudent investment rule. We had a discussion about that amongst the board earlier about putting this on the warrant. This is the general law that was passed by the legislature that allows us to invest in accordance to in accordance to what the state has called the prudent investment rule, which allows a wider range of investments for municipalities than were previously allowed. Otherwise, we were only allowed to put things like in savings accounts and banks, which weren't earning any interest at all. Article 11 is the PEG access receipts. We do this for the first 3 quarters of PEG access receipts every year. That again is not a final number. We don't have I haven't gotten the 3rd quarter numbers yet. We should be getting them relatively soon because that's January through the end of March. And so we should be getting those from Comcast. And once we get that deposit from Comcast, we'll have the final update. This is just a carryover for last year's.
Can you put a note in yourself? I want to talk to you about something like that too, for PEG access.
But again, this is something we do every year. The tag access transfer is something that's regular. Article 12 is the $5,000 that's set aside for the town's 300th anniversary, 2032. That's something the town's been doing every year for the past little while to build up some funds for that 300th anniversary celebration. Article 13 is another article. It's for funding the periodic inspections of the assessors. They put this on the annual town meeting warrant every year. Then we have general bylaws and adoptions. Article 14 is a change in the term of the Council on Aging. The only change is at the request of the Council on Aging. I believe that's correct, Sabrina. They put in this request to change the term from 4 years to 3 years. So this would be changing that term for all the members. Article 15 is changing the fee, amending the fee section under the scenic roads bylaw. And that was submitted by the planning board. So that one is from the planning board. And I'm going to put a description in here. We don't have the description in for this quite yet. Then we come to zoning bylaws and adoptions, which do require a 2/3 vote. Article 16 is amendments to the regulation of accessory apartments. So that was also submitted by the planning board. I'm waiting for a description on that. I think Beth has already sent them, but I haven't put them into this document yet. Article 17 is the fees for large-scale ground-mounted solar installations. Again, this was another one submitted by the planning board. Article 18 is a deletion of the outdoor lighting provisions of the zoning bylaw. And so this would be submitted by the bylaw review committee. And so that was the proposal that they came forward with to delete those provisions.
That's okay. That's different than what they had at their last meeting, but I'm sure. Okay.
No, I mean, I did get this from Beth today, so I can check with her to make sure that the language is correct. This is all going to be subject to review by town council. I know that he's been looking at the bylaws from the planning board and the bylaw review committee, but he's obviously going to look at the entirety of the annual town meeting warrant and make sure that there are.
I'm sorry. But if I know they had been working like the last 5 or 6 meetings about the escaping lumens thing of the outdoor lighting. It'd have to be, I mean, they would have to have it available now, right? This is all you have, or how does that work? If they're still presenting it to Adam to see if it can come on the ATM, they have to wait till the next one, or is it too late? Are we closing it if we vote on it tonight?
So the bylaw review committee had a series of proposed bylaws that they had come to the board with when we had our joint
One on the
meeting.
lighting and one on sound, right?
Right, there was a noise one, but I haven't received any finalized versions of those. And so I asked Beth today for the ones that were finalized, and the ones she came with were the ones.
So my question is, when we vote on this today, which I assume we're going to do,
Mhm.
do they have to wait to the next meeting to present those, or is there a way to amend?
Well, so let's think about this. On the 7th is when the town meeting is, so we'd have to have it posted. The warrant has to get posted on the 23rd. We have a meeting on the 23rd, so we tentatively have a meeting scheduled at early in the morning on the 23rd.
I just think keep adding stuff to that, just gonna get crazy. I mean, if they all knew what the time frame was. It's not here, this is what we're voting on, end of discussion, move on.
Yeah.
We can't just say, well, let's just stretch it another week. Yeah, no, everyone knows the rules, as far as I'm concerned. This is what we're voting on, to close this.
Sabrina, did you get anything else from the bylaw review committee from Beth?
I'm checking now.
Yeah, I'm checking just to make sure I didn't miss anything, because I knew that there were those other proposals, but I never got finalized versions of them, so it doesn't mean we
Well,
can't.
They did send, versions to the planning board.
For-
They had the hearings and things, but I think those were kind of last one. But, so that's good to have those.
No, I can certainly put it, we can certainly put it in a placeholder. We know that they had a tentative bylaw that was for noise. We know that they had a tentative bylaw for outdoor lighting.
Yeah, but they were working on it, so they should have had it to us.
I can put a placeholder in here and just, if we don't get a finalized version, just delete it before
I know they had
before it
gone
has
to
to get
Adam
posted.
with both of them to make sure the language was right, and I think Adam advised them to do one final check with the planning board. But that's the last meeting I had with them, so.
So if you put in 2 placeholders, then we can take it out on the 23rd.
We can take it out of the 23rd.
Why don't we do that?
And then just,
Put in 2
I mean-
placeholders for those possible zoning bylaw changes. And then if we don't get them by the 23rd meeting, then we'll take them out.
delete them.
Yeah,
Okay.
Adam might have advised them against it too, so that might be why I'm saying this.
Well, I'd rather err on the side of caution, so.
Okay, I agree.
Just trying to see, I just want to make sure that, you know. So,
I'll talk to
no,
Veronica. I'm sure she's up to date with
you
it.
know what, I didn't get it, here's I'm realizing what the issue was. Adam sent over something back in March about a noise bylaw. So it looks like we have a noise bylaw from Adam, but that's the only thing I have from Adam.
So yeah, let's keep it open.
Okay,
Two
I'll double
placeholders.
check with Adam and make sure that those are the versions that he's already approved.
That way I don't want, they did a lot of hard work on both of those, so I
Yeah.
wanna make sure we keep them on there.
Exactly.
There's a placeholder for the second one now.
Placeholder for noise and a placeholder for another outdoor lighting bylaw, because I know they were talking about 2 of them. The deleting of the general, or the
Right,
deleting
the
of one and
deleting
then
from
It was
zoning and
an
putting it
tweaking the
into
other.
Yes,
general.
because I remember that in that meeting, they did talk about the additional, so.
So I don't want it to come down that just the deletion goes through and all that work they did in the general doesn't get made.
So then we can just vote on those articles with those 2 placeholders.
Yep.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve the annual town meeting warrant articles as discussed.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
She's saying yes?
Joseph Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes. Thank you, Eric, for that. The other big one today, this will be a simple one. 4.7, discuss budget for fiscal year 25. How would you like to tackle this one?
Yeah, I mean, so this budget has a couple of relatively minor changes. The treasurer had asked to move some funding from their equipment rental line into a training line for the treasurer collector. It doesn't change the total budget number, just creates a separate line and lowers the budget number for equipment rental. And the only other change was, as we discussed, the removal of $20,000 from the election office line. So other than that, the lines do remain the same. Obviously, we can continue to look at the budget as we have in the past. We can change it up, so.
So,
At the very end, but
so once again, I'm gonna go right back to the same thing with facilities. Okay, that $15,000 was put into that account. I get it. You said that Gary says he's okay with, he can do his budget, he can change things around just to kind of get moving. I get all that. But if there's $15,000 in that budget, that really shouldn't be there. It should be taken out of that facilities account and it should be put back in the general fund. I mean, I don't want to see a $15,000 amount in an account that is supposed to be working and doing certain maintenance on buildings that aren't being done. I would not be doing any of the residents the right justice if we allow that. If the money was $15,000 that was put in there, taken out of a different account, so that the maintenance of those buildings was being done by the facilities, and it's not being done, that money needs to go out of that account. I don't care how you cut the pie. You just can't give somebody $15,000 increase in his budget for doing nothing on those buildings. That's only my opinion. I'm only one. But there was $15,000.
do you know what line that went in?
That was about 4 years ago that was done. Okay, and the money was taken out of the fire department budget and put into, and back in them days, and I was on when that was going, every day our budget changed, money was where, Chaz, you remember this? We were a good $200,000. The next day, we're 500,000 in the red. But it was an absolute thing that was done. I think you can talk with the fire department. They can verify it. They can tell you the exact line item that it was taken from. But there's $15,000 that was taken out of the fire department budget to put into facilities to maintain those buildings. They're not being done. That money cannot stay there. If you want to keep it there, go for it, but I wouldn't vote for it. And if we're going to be good stewards of the money of this community, we need to pay attention to these things.
So if it was, we would need to see exactly what line item it went into. Because I don't know if it was for building maintenance. I don't know if it was for professional services. Now,
I think it, and I may be wrong, but once again, every meeting, every time we talked about the budget, it changed.
Yeah.
But I thought it was to go into building maintenance.
that's what I thought too.
Because it was, I think at that time, there was 15,000 in there, he needed 30. And I think that's where we are in them years, 30, right? And it went up a little bit each year.
Yeah.
But that 30,000, I'm pretty sure is the line that they put it into. I don't know what line they took it out of. But for me, I mean.
So I'm looking at, I'm just looking at I have a file for the BOS approved fiscal year 2021 budget. And it shows FY 18, FY 19, FY 20, and FY 2021. And in the expense lines, FY 21 was identical to FY 20, and FY 20 was $20,000 less than FY 19.
Their budget line was 20,000 less because they took it out of their budget and put it into facilities.
No, the other direction. I'm looking at the facilities line. Facilities in 2019 had 213,000. In 2020 was 194,000. In 2021 was 194,000. So there's no increase in FY 19, 20, or 21 that would account for our $15,000 being dropped in there, it appears. I obviously I'm not,
The only one that's gonna know where that money went is the man that no longer sits in that position. But I'm gonna tell you, I think what we need to do is, I think through the chair, you can tell Eric whatever, but I think it needs to be documented what line item it came out of the fire department, what year, what date, and where it went. And it just needs to, even if the fire department is accepted and they got their budget is good, I don't want $15,000 extra in an account for facilities that really doesn't justify to be there.
but I'm just saying, based on the documentation I have, that didn't happen between FY 18 and FY 21. So and again, all I'm looking at is the budget documents that I have. It's not obviously not the annual town reports, so I could go and look at those. But there's no evidence in the line items year over year that indicates that happened in those years. Now I can look, let me look and see if it happened between FY 21 and FY 22, because this was the FY 21 budget. Let's see, what does FY 22 look like? So the FY 21, and again, I'm talking about non-salary line item, was $194,628. In FY 22, it was $199,601. So it actually went up by 5,000. In FY 23, it dropped because the professional services was removed for the landscaping, so it dropped down to 176,000. So it's not clear to me based on these.
I think you got a clear record of what it is. Reach out to the fire department. They have the records of it. They know exactly what day, what line item it was taken from, and that needs to be addressed.
So why don't we look at the fire department and then
Have them
look
tell
at
you.
those numbers, try to zero in on that, and then we can send it out to the board after we get the verification.
I mean, I could absolutely check with fire.
Yeah. But there are, I'm looking at the BVA for it, and there's, when it comes to, facilities repair and maintenance on the building, there's a lot of money spent on that, but there's on groundskeeping and supplies is what we're talking about, correct?
Well, maintenance, what it was supposed to have been, maintenance, yeah.
Well, there's still $8,400 on that. Granted, we're coming into our season, but we'll address that in another agenda item.
And I'm not, and I'm good, but I just, when that was going on, it was really a bad deal because it was a joke. It was moving money around. It was wrong. And I just think the fire department, if they can balance their budget without the 15,000, that's fine. I'm happy for them. But I don't want to see an extra $15,000 sitting somewhere.
So if we can look into seeing where the 15, if it went out in one and went into the other, if we can have a document.
I'll try to find any information I can about that. I did just look through the documents about the fire. There doesn't, in the fire budgets between 18 and 21, it doesn't show a dip of any $15,000. Just, again, all I have is what I'm looking at on the computer screen.
That building's just down the street. Pick up a phone and I would call down there to speak to Mr. Grimley because he knows exactly when.
Yeah.
He could probably give you the exact date, time, and when it happened.
I'm sure he could. I'm sure he could. Anything else?
Any other questions about that budget? I mean, I know that, again, there are some numbers that are still not finalized. We will, hopefully before the next time the board meets, we'll get some of these numbers, more final, but the vast majority of the budget at this point is locked in.
Mm-hmm.
It's an 8.8% increase.
A lot of that is salary from our negotiation.
And
Insurance.
a lot of that is
The school.
the schools.
Yes. So,
And that's the it's hard to overestimate, because they've got an 11% increase on 55% of our budget, so.
And while we're talking budgets, I just want to clarify something that's out there in the world. It's posted everywhere. I don't follow Facebook much. But we need to clarify something right now, that the board, as they deem us, we have not lost $1 million out there. There's no $1 million missing. So I just need to clarify that, if anyone's read that on Facebook or any of them posts.
Don't do Facebook, but
There's not $1 million missing.
Just need to verify that and clarify that.
There never was $1 million.
There never was $1 million missing. So everybody in the town that, whatever they want to do, they want to read Facebook, they want to do whatever they want, don't believe what certain people are posting, that we're $1 million in the hole.
Well, look at me.
You got involved in that.
I do.
Denying it.
All right, so let's keep
I
it.
want to discuss, if you know, and you might know, Joe, there's like a 26% increase in the fire for new equipment. But he explained that when we were talking about under capital, why that doesn't capital. He's always put his vehicles under this budget and not under capital. And he hasn't got them lined up yet the way he liked to have them lined up. So this year he has to replace more vehicles than he normally did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just want to
there
make
was-
sure I
it was-
understand
I forget
that.
what he called it, but there's something about a plan, he has a plan, just like
Right,
you do
it
in
hasn't-
IT.
yeah.
It's, as things go, age out, then they need to be replaced.
Right. But he chooses not to put this under capital because that's harder to vote for you rather than just have it there. Okay,
Correct.
got it. Thank you.
So if you could look into that one thing, and then you and I will have several conversations between now and then in regards to the budget, I'm sure. So we can move on, Eric?
Yes.
4.8, review and approve forestry contract.
I can speak on that really briefly.
I just signed the submission from the bylaw review committee, and I believe that was the final version.
Okay,
I can't, we can say.
we'll take a look at that.
We can finalize it. Since she's jumping back, just can you look at, above our signatures, you have April of the year 2023, that needs to be updated to 24
On the
warrant.
warrant? Oh, I apologize. Thought I caught all this. Okay. So with respect to the forestry contract, this is a contract which the Affordable Housing Trust had investigated to have some forestry work done on parcels that had been transferred to the trust control. I worked with Adam and and another attorney in his office to review it. They're of the opinion it needs to be signed by the Board of Selectmen as well as the Affordable Housing Trust. And so this is a kind of a reasonable contract. It's already been reviewed by town council. That would allow us to retain a percentage of let me rephrase that, will allow the trust to retain a percentage of their earnings from the cutting of some parcels that they own. And that would go towards furthering the mission of the trust.
So just earlier we said, so the parcels that come under here are different than the parcels, can't speak today, that would come under conservation?
Correct. It depends on which, these have been deeded to the trust by the town, whereas the town can put parcels under Conservation Commission control.
But the ones under conservation wouldn't be impacted by.
Correct, no, this is just a
There
particular
were,
parcel.
it went from town properties then gave some to the housing trust, some they had conservation, others they decide that the Board of Selectmen, just like the article for us, that we want to split that one property so that we can sell it. And this is in order for us or the Affordable Housing Trust to sustain their budget, so they're gonna forest a portion of what they have so that they can then have money to be able to continue to do the work that they're doing.
Okay, thank you very much.
So we would just need a motion to authorize the signing of the forestry contract as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? All those in favor?
Teresa A. Marsh, yes?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
I have the signature page with both the signatures on it. Do you have the ones with the three signatures? Okay. Let me get it right. That's not the last one. I'm in the wrong contract. Get it one.
Okay.
Yep, never mind. Move on.
Is there 2 spots on there or just one? There was one of them that had 2 spots.
I thought that just had one, but I haven't looked at it in a few days.
There were a lot of contracts for the last couple of days. And I do want to say, I want to thank the Affordable Housing Trust for everything they're doing. They're really doing a great job of making sure that they're sustaining themselves and taking care of the property for town. Um, 4.9, review and sign letter of resolution for adoption for the National Fitness Campaign. This is for the new fitness that we had voted on, seems like years ago. But it does take a while to appropriate funding. This is a resolution to adopt and allocate funds for an outdoor fitness court as part of the 2024 National Fitness Campaign. We had a generous donation from them, and we have appropriated a majority of the funds to be able to meet what they needed. There are a couple of other things that I shouldn't say the Recreation Department is looking into, but as far as us, it's a resolution, and I assume I read the whole resolution, Eric, right?
Yes.
Okay, so at a meeting of the Board of Selectmen held on April 16th, 2024, wherein the following action was taken. Whereas the town of Townsend Recreation Department has submitted a grant application to National Fitness Campaign for participation in their 2024 initiative to install and activate outdoor fitness courts in 200 cities and schools across the country. And whereas the town of Townsend Recreation Department will accept a $50,000 national grant from our NFC grant committee and statewide partners and provide a local match in the amount of $78,000 to promote and implement a free to the public outdoor fitness court. And whereas the town of Townsend Recreation Department will secure supplemental funding as needed through community sponsors, which will be made available and committed to this program for the purchase of the outdoor fitness court. And whereas the town of Townsend will commit to construction and launch of the outdoor fitness court by the end of 2024 calendar year. And whereas the Board of Selectmen believes the outdoor fitness court as an important wellness ecosystem that supports healthier communities, commits to funding, fundraising to participate in NFC's 2024 campaign, and will earn local and national recognition as a leader in providing affordable health and wellness. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Selectmen will collaborate with NFC to implement the outdoor fitness court and make fitness free to community residents and visitors. Respectfully, Townsend Select Board. So do we have to do a vote on that?
Yeah, I think there should just be a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
So this grant it's a trademark product, right? It's, and I know the product, it's a 7-minute workout. It's, the way I looked at it, it's designed more for adults. But I'm just curious, but I'm sure kids can do anything on anything, right?
Yeah, well, the initial design is for adults, yes.
Okay.
However, it can be adapted to,
That was my
for
question.
younger sets. And I know that I've had discussions within the recreation department with their commissioners, and they do have certain things, let's say for summer rec, they're gonna have.
Okay, so we
depending
don't
upon
have
the
to
level.
take that adult version, that 7-minute version that they typically offer. We can have an adapted version for children.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's something that I'm sure the rec department will be able to work out. And again, we've been working on this for 3 years.
Mhm.
All those in favor?
Chief Seymour, yes?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton, yes. .10, discuss and finalize the selection of a company to conduct an ADA evaluation of town properties under a new grant agreement. That would be you, Eric.
Yeah, so this is actually really exciting. The town was approved for an ADA transition plan grant from the Massachusetts Office of Disability. The total grant amount was for $110,000 to do an ADA evaluation of a bunch of different town properties, including open space properties. We put that out to bid. We got 2 qualified bidders that came in. The low bidder was NILP, Northeast Independent Living Program. They're at Lawrence. Their bid was actually for, ended up being for slightly over $51,000. So significantly less than what our grant amount is, which is great. It's nice to have that happen for once. And so there's a copy of in the SharePoint, there's a copy of their grant approval. A copy of their bid, and then there's the ADA grant summary that Jess had put together real quick. So this would lead to an assessment of all the town-owned properties, buildings, and land to complete our ADA self-evaluation and transition plan. This is very important because it's the last remaining piece for our open space and recreation plan, which we need to have before the state will approve our open space recreation plan, which is a significant hindrance right now in us being able to apply for park grants, which are the large open space grants that they get. You have to have a valid open space plan in order to apply for those grants. So this will open the door.
Other grants that we have, because we didn't have an ADA plan, we weren't able to apply for them. I think there's another Housing Choice, I think is another one that we would be now eligible for, that we've been working on building the criteria for that.
Yeah, so this is really important. This is actually a company that I'm familiar with. They did an ADA evaluation for a bunch of buildings in Lowell when I was there. And so, I'm familiar with the person who was the lead on this, and he did a really good job when he worked with Lowell. So we'd just be requesting the board to approve a contract with Northeast Independent Living for the $51,195.08 and authorize me to sign on behalf of the board once we get a finalized
So
contract.
moved.
Second.
I was ready.
I know. All those in favor?
Chief Seymour, yes?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Iranian, yes. I'm glad to check that one off, because that now opens up the door for several other things once we get that completed, that we've been working on for a couple of years now. 4.11, surplus request, Highway Department, and regarding the Paystar plow truck.
So this is just a relatively straightforward, there's a plow truck that is in really bad shape.
This is the one that's rusted all out at
I
the bottom.
believe that's the one.
Yes.
And
Under the gas and the clutch, it's all, you can see the road.
Jimmy is ready for this truck to no longer be used. So he's requesting that this Paystar 5,000 plow truck be surplused.
So I'll entertain a motion to surplus the Highway Department Paystar plow truck.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Casey Marsh, yes?
Shawshank, yes.
Chad Sexton, Rainey, yes. 4.12, mandatory referral from the planning board. This is for 108 to 112 West Meadow Road. I don't know if you've reviewed the stormwater management application. Just because I was on planning, I reviewed it. Do you have any comments on that? We can do either no comment or make a comment. How would you like to proceed?
I just always like to defer to the planning board.
Okay.
I mean, you were on the planning board, you have better knowledge of what that says, so what would your opinion be?
I personally, there's a couple of things that I would question when they do the hearing. But I do believe that the planning board will be able to flesh out those. So I have full faith in the planning board to be able to carry out their duties, so.
So, put it no comment.
Okay.
Yeah, because I do not want to figure out what the difference between stony and very stony.
So I'll just put no comment.
No comment.
Yeah, I'll defer to the
All right.
wise planning board.
Four point 13, review, discuss overtime balance of highway superintendent. That had a, did you put the letter from Jim in there, the email?
Yeah.
Yes. It's in the SharePoint. Oh, just the letter.
Okay. This is what we had talked about before, that we had exhausted in that last, surprise storm.
Yeah, this
I
last
guess
surprise.
we can say, that did put him in overtime status, and he's requesting to have that, what was it, $666 and
60 cents.
60 cents. I was a little nervous about that total.
Yeah, I would never, I would change my hours.
Yeah.
No way would I accept that in my check.
But if you don't have any issues with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve that overtime for James.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Casey Marsh, yes?
Shawshank, yes.
Chad Sexton, Rainey, yes. And thank you, Jimmy, for all the hard work you do for us. 4.14, review and approve agreement for Greenville Road landfill with Weston and Sampson Engineers. Eric, I think that's all you.
Sure, this is pretty straightforward. This is just a renewal by the Board of Health of the environmental monitoring agreement between the town of Weston and Sampson for the landfill. They had it for the prior years, and this is just a renewal request with moderate increases over the 2 years.
And this would be effective when we sign it or effective when the last contract ends? Because of the dates are left blank.
Yeah, so it will be effective as of today. They still haven't done their monitoring for FY24 yet.
Okay.
So that's why that's in there. It was budgeted.
Right.
So there's funds budgeted to cover that amount. And the increased amount is also budgeted for next year. So this would just allow them to do their monitoring for the end of the fiscal year, because we have reporting requirements with the state and the federal government, I believe, for the landfill monitoring. So we would just be looking for a motion to approve the agreement for the environmental monitoring.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Tracy Morris, yes?
Prushank, yes.
Chad Sexton-Duranian, yes. 4.15, surplus request facilities regarding the lawnmower. No, this is not deja vu.
Yeah, we already been down this road.
Yeah, well,
But wait, there's more.
there's more. Yeah,
There always is.
so as the board last time, deferred on, approval of the surplus because of concerns about there not being a mower and not being a plan to have an appropriate mower for the town hall. So, Roger, worked with Rob, to see whether or not they could find an appropriate location that would offer a trade-in allowance for the existing mower towards a newer, more appropriate mower for the location. And they found one. So they found Roger came down with his truck, took the mower down to a place. I think it's in Leominster. It might be in Lunenburg. I'm not exactly sure. Where the person took a look at the mower and gave a generous trade-in allowance towards a new mower. There's a delta of $1,100 between the trade-in value of the existing mower and the new mower that Rob is funding out of his existing budget. There would be.
So, as far as I'm concerned, this is just a backdoor way of coming back at us.
Well, no. And I've investigated the exact details on this. What this will be is that this equipment now is more negotiable here, but he can also use it next door and over here, any parts of this that is in there. It's a smaller mower. It's a zero clearance or whatever the terminology is.
What make is it? Do we have any literature on this thing?
Let me see. Let me see what I believe that they emailed me something.
So do we have numbers, what we got for trade-in? Because now we're gonna spend $1,100 more dollars.
Yeah, $4,000 in trade for the existing mower.
And this also comes with the Delta, there's going to be a bagger. There's other attachments that go on it as well.
And I again, just to be clear, I did, this was vetted by both Rob and Roger as to whether or not they thought it was an appropriate mower and thought it was an appropriate trade-in value. I think Roger actually twisted the guy's arm to get us a higher trade-in amount than otherwise. So they both thought it made
coming in
sense.
now is because this offer was given last week, was it?
Yes.
And he wanted it before the season started, so this is why I said, let's put it right on the agenda and take care of it.
So we need a motion?
To approve the surplus list.
So moved.
I'll second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I would like to know a little bit more about what we're doing. We're trading in a 61-inch Ferris deck mower, which just last year I sold my used one when I sold my house. I got $5,000 for it used, not as big as this. This is a bigger deck mower. I see this. This is twice the deck mower I sold as a used one. I think $4,000 for that is cheap. You know what I mean? I really do. If this is the way we're gonna go, we probably should have done a little. I get Roger works very hard. He does really good, but I think it could have been sold for more. I think you just put it out in general public out there, you'd get more than 4,000.
Well, we can certainly do that. I mean, the board can say, we're surplusing it, we want you to put it out on municipal bid and see what we get. And we could set the reserve at $5,000 or $6,000, like we did with the town car, and see if we got that.
Yeah, and I don't want to screw up anything that you guys got planned to do here, but I just think that 4,000 is low, but that's only my opinion.
I have nothing planned, I'm
Yeah.
just saying that
Yeah.
this is what was, he had put up for surplus, and I wanted to make sure that we were doing something with it that was,
Well, what gets me, okay, just really a thorn in my side, when it comes in front of us and he asked that he wanted to surplus it, and we took a stance as a board, we weren't gonna do that. And then 3 weeks later, it comes back in a different version. That's not the way to do it. It just isn't.
Well, just to be fair, when the board acted last, the answer was, we're not gonna do this now because there's not a plan for how you're gonna get another mower. So don't come back to us until you know how you're gonna get another mower. We're not leaving that up in the air.
right.
And that's why they went this route, was because that's what they heard from the board, that we need to have a plan to have another mower, because we don't want there to be a complaint that there's no way for you to mow, because you sold the mower you had, and now you don't have a new one, you don't have any money for it. That was the genesis of the reason why it went this way. It was because that we heard from the board, and the facilities heard from the board, and I heard from the board, that we're not willing to do this until you tell us how we're gonna be mowing this summer. We're not gonna leave it to chance that you're gonna find a mower, or not gonna, magically try to find money then to come up to find a mower. So this was a way, in order to facilitate getting a mower, so that there's an answer certain for the town as to how the mowing's gonna get done at town hall this summer.
So
that's
we
the,
told them to find another mower. They found another mower. So now what are their options for this mower? They could trade it in, which is like what we tried to do with the town car,
Mhm.
but that was valued at over $10,000, so that couldn't be done.
Correct.
So we put it out to bid, and that didn't go that great, right? I mean, eventually we got bids,
no, we
right?
got, we put it out to bid, we got,
I thought we had to redo it like a couple of
well,
times.
we put it out to bid, and I set the reserve.
Too high.
We set the reserve too high, we didn't make the reserve, so I had to put it out again, and we sold it for
So that's an
somewhat of
option
what we
with
thought
the,
Yeah.
it was gonna be.
And
so that's the option, or just take the money and run that we know it's 4,000.
Sure, I
And I
mean,
was saying, do it, like, set it at 6,000, see if we can get 6,000, if not, then we set it 4,000, 5,000,
But
4,000.
then, I think problem we might have with that is then, if the mower is not being used, or we sell it, and he doesn't have another plan, so just, this seems like it's, Roger's put a lot of time into this,
Well, and I agree.
and I would trust what Roger's opinion is.
Yep.
And if that's the case, we're gonna be guaranteed a mower, move on.
And I appreciate your thoughts and feelings in regards to this, because initially that's what my thoughts and feelings were, is that it came back. But then again, I thought, well, this also allows, this lawnmower to be able to do that over there, and Cemetery and Parks doesn't have to come over and do that.
And now, are we guaranteed that his assistant can drive this mower?
that is a completely different question, that's completely, like,
Well, if
That's
we're gonna
some-
get a mower, we gotta get one that just not one person can drive.
again, that's not something that's within the discussion about the surplusing. We especially, because you and I have talked offline about that sort of issue, that's not something we can discuss I don't think we can discuss that without having a separate
Alright.
agenda item to discuss that. That's a separate issue. It's a personnel issue that I think
Well, what if we know what we're gonna get for a mower, we know what we're gonna trade in, well, now let's bring it back around and say, okay, let's have this thing so that we don't get this mower and we're right back in the same square that any employee can't drive it, only this one person. So maybe we need to be looking, don't buy something that's really limited us who's gonna use it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the challenge with this lot like this is a residential mower is not really sufficient if you're talking about all this acreage, right? Like that's the challenge that we're running into. And I hear what you are saying. That's one of the things that we talked about in the facilities budget was adding in some extra money so that Rob can have laborers.
See,
And that's,
Okay, I'm good. I'll just leave that one on. You guys vote on it. I ain't voting on it. Because we're creating ourselves a nightmare here. What are we doing? We're gonna add more money so he can have laborers so he can do it? Come on. Why don't you just shoot ourselves in the head? That's good. I'm good with that. I'm not stressing myself over that. It's a no-win situation right there.
So I'm only looking at the surplus, and I'm only looking at the fact that we do need a lawnmower to be able to mow town property. And that lawnmower is gonna be able to do here and over at the Hart Library. And it will relieve staff from the cemetery and parks to actually come over here and have to do over there.
Gonna do the back lot too?
Yes.
Perfect.
All those in favor?
She's saying Marsh, yes?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton, the ring. 5.0 ARPA projects.
so, as folks are aware of, we, were awarded a Mass Trails grant to do the, Squanicook Rivers Rail Trail Connectivity Project. It started to put a sidewalk, basically, starting at the Harbor Church, going down towards South Street and doing the intersection of South Street. When we went out to bid for that project, it came back as significantly higher than the grant amount plus the ARPA money that we had. So we were in a situation where, because that's Mass DOT right of way, we reached out to Mass DOT to see if they had any kind of flexibility. Part of the problem was for Mass DOT, they say when you touch an intersection, you got to do the intersection. So you had to do the handicap ramp on one side, you have to do the handicap ramp on the other side, and it increased the costs over what we had got awarded in our Mass Trails grant. So the upside is Jessica Gonzalez reached out to Mass Trails, and they are optimistic that if we put in an application for an amendment, we can get additional money from Mass Trails to cover the difference between what the bids came in and what our grant amount plus the ARPA money we had set aside for us.
It's the rail trail, Squanicook Rail Trail. Tell them we put as much as we can put into this.
Yeah, so
They gotta figure out where the rest of the money comes from.
yeah, so
They're open to it. We
Yeah.
just gotta reapply.
yeah, so we've worked with them really closely. They've been really helpful because our engineer firm that we had put in certain amount of expected costs for different things, and the bids that we got in had some of those costs were exponentially larger than our engineering firm had anticipated. So we explained that to Mass Trails. They understood. They said, you need to come back and do an application for an amendment. Here's the flip side. That requires additional match. Mass Trails has a 20% match requirement. We've identified ARPA funds that were in the stormwater management line in ARPA to transfer, I believe it's $11,000 from that into the harbor sidewalk trail connectivity line in ARPA to make up our match so we can meet the delta between what we were given as a grant and what the actual bids came in at. So this reallocation form would be to transfer $11,000 from the ARPA line for stormwater into the ARPA line for the harbor trails.
And then we can contract that.
So that we would be able this is the first step for us applying for that amendment. Because I already have identified the match funds. We don't have $11,000 in any other line sitting that we could
How
say.
much have we put into ARPA money into that sidewalk so far?
So we had $50,000 that were originally set aside in ARPA for that sidewalk. So this would jack that up to $61,000.
So does this need to be a motion to reallocate?
Yeah. Needs to be a motion to reallocate funds from the ARPA stormwater line into the ARPA harbor sidewalk line.
So moved.
Second.
Move to second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
She's saying Marsh, yes?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton, Iranian, yes.
So I'll talk to Jess and we'll put in the amendment. She will put in that amendment tomorrow.
Well, it was disappointing when those bids were open, that's for sure.
Yeah, and then the amounts that came in, one of them came in at twice what the funds that we had set aside from the grant. And that was the high one, obviously, there was an ad alternate to try to do, some different stuff along there, and it was the ad alternate for concrete was just, that blew all the bids out of the
I
water.
still don't understand why they only have that, them two little small trestles. I mean, think how, the sidewalk, do they have an actual cost? What is it costing everybody, not just towns but anyone involved? What is that little 200, 300 feet or whatever it is of sidewalk? What is that costing?
But
Versus-
again, the reason why it's costing more is because we only figured we could do that one side of the street,
Yeah.
but because of DOT, we have to do all
Well,
four.
but
all
I
four
get it.
corners.
And we have to go to the other side in front of Shepherd's where there's that sidewalk there. They're making us redo that too.
Redo the whole thing.
So, but my point I'm trying to get at is, why don't we go and say to the rail trail people, extend from the church, stay on the rail bed and continue down, get right out of that intersection?
Because we can't go behind the
Yeah,
Historic Society won't approve
There are
going on the.
property owners along that way that are not allowing.
But they don't own it. The rail trail's the rail trail.
I hear what
I
you're
fought
saying.
that fight for 20 years.
I hear what you are saying. And I don't disagree with you. But the answer that we've been given is the bikes can't go back there. If you want bikes, they have to go out in front of by 119.
So how soon can she get this in? And how soon will we know?
We already have the amendment drafted. We're just waiting for this vote so that we could tell Mass Trails that we have the match.
Okay,
So that Jess is going to submit it tomorrow.
okay, good.
Jess and Aaron are going to submit that tomorrow, and then we'll be waiting to hear from them to see what their answer is.
Did we vote on that?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, 5.1, let's have Eric talk.
Okay. Try to pull the documents out. So, the first update would be the amendment to the constable policy. So there's, it's in the SharePoint, the proposed amendment to the constable policy. It allows the select board to reserve the right to waive any fees associated with the application process.
Nice and simple, huh?
Yep, simple.
Try to keep it pretty straightforward. There's the full constable policies there, but this just allows us to basically say, the board of selectmen can waive it whenever they want. And so that,
We need
hopefully,
to vote on that, right?
yeah, so we just need a vote to
This
amend
would
the
be
constable policy, yes.
the second amendment to the policy.
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Should say Marsh, yes?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton, yes.
So, okay, a couple of different updates. They're in the document, but I want to let you know. We got an update from John Page regarding the Townsend Charter. Earlier this month.
Which one, from 2015?
Yeah. So the Senate Council did complete the review of the charter. They redrafted the bill, and they made some changes that are technical changes but don't affect the substance of the bill. So the clean copy is supposed to be voted on by the Senate and then would need to be voted on by the House. We also got an update from Rep. Scarsdale, basically providing the same information. So the downside is we're running up against the time clock. They need to vote on it relatively soon, or else we're going to run out of time in the session. So they're optimistic that it's going to get done because this was kind of the last remaining procedural hurdle that for some reason the Senate decided to throw in front of this. But I'm hopeful that this means that they're going to actually be able to take a vote, and then it would go back to the House, which would be a simple procedural vote of the House to approve it.
I just want to thank John Page for shepherding. I know he's been checking on this on a weekly basis, and I also want to thank Representative Scarsdale for she's going to try to get it pushed through for us to get it.
We've been working hard at it.
Yeah,
she has really.
Both of them.
The other kind of important update for folks to know is that we did get a signed agreement with North Middlesex for the summer rec program to proceed at Spalding. And so that's been kind of up in the air for a while. I think the agreement makes sense. It took a lot longer than I had hoped to get to this point, but we did get the signed agreement on Friday. So that's a positive thing. So
Yes. Now that the rec department is able to make plans and has dates, and we're up and running.
And I think more importantly, this agreement is not just for 1 year. So this is going to kind of, the framework's in place to go forward without having the rec department being waiting every year to figure out what the school district wants to do. So I think that's a positive thing.
That's positive, yeah.
Let's see. I think that's going to be it for updates for today.
Sure.
Talked a lot. I think you probably don't want to hear me talk anymore.
I think that's it. All right, I'm waiting for my document to load here. Five point two, reports from board liaisons. Let's start off with general government.
So the major one I kind of need your assistance with is coming from the Conservation Commission.
Mm-hmm.
So they reviewed the letter, and the letter we received on April 2nd, but it refers to a letter back in February that they supposedly sent and said we had X amount of days from that letter to respond about the upcoming herbicides being sprayed by Unitil.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason they can, for areas that respond, they'll do manually. And what they state is if an area is a farmland, upkeeper of bees, different type of things like that, they should be able to respond. So the Conservation Commission is working with them to make sure we haven't missed that deadline, or we can get an extension of that deadline,
Mm-hmm.
so we can give town people a time to respond. And I don't know if the easiest way is to look like it's on Old Battery Road. So like the water department should be made aware. Aop's farm, he has bees on that farm. I know for sure he has bees on the farm, plus it's farmland. So if it's easier to just look at that map and identify people we need to reach out to and ask to respond, or put something on the web page and say, look, herbicides are being sprayed. If you don't want it to be sprayed from the air and you want manual spraying, go to a website. And so I said to the Conservation Commission that I would bring it up in this meeting and see if you had any ideas on the best way to make sure that we let the townspeople know that this is going on and how they can opt out as best as possible.
Unitil, they're gonna do what they wanna do.
But
No, you do have the right to opt out and have them manually sprayed, but they won't do anything unless we send them a list.
Correct.
Right.
This is,
So we
they're,
have to gather
yeah.
But I
that
don't
list
think
for them.
that's the Board of Selectmen's privy to send that out. I don't,
I don't know that, I've never heard of
Yeah.
that requirement from Unitil, but it doesn't mean it's not real. And it wouldn't make any sense to me that a private property owner couldn't say, hey,
but they would have to deal with
IBs
that on their own.
to Unitil,
Yeah,
but,
but I don't see
I'm
the
just not
town.
familiar with that
Yeah,
requirement.
I
from
guess
Unitil.
what they're asking is how do we make, like, the citizens of Townsend know they have
Who's
that
asking that?
opportunity?
Who?
The Conservation Commission. There's two gentlemen that were here tonight.
So my understanding, because I had taken issue with, them spraying the, I forget what they called it, but there's something to restrict the growth of the plants
Right.
within the.
And that's what they're doing again.
Correct.
Right.
There is, I believe that, there is a representative from Unitil that does our area, you know,
So we have the name of the representative. We even know the form you can use
Correct.
to do.
so.
My
you're-
question is,
you're-
how do
you're-
we get that
and this
information
is
to the
This is
people?
when Mr. Gates made the comment about outreach, and
Okay.
I agree to that. It would, if this is a concern of the Conservation Commission, then it would be the responsibility of the Conservation Commission to either, try to do a target market to those particular areas where that's on those maps. Either send them a postcard or whatever, send a letter, to let them know that they're on property that Unitil is going to be spraying, and maybe include what Unitil put in as what pesticides they're using, or what, I forget what it's called, something
Right, yeah,
suppression,
yeah,
growth, or
yeah,
growth
suppression,
suppressions. Yeah.
whatever. And I also thought maybe something on the webpage with a link
Yep,
to
if
that.
they want to
even the
create
street
some kind
sign.
of flyer or whatever, yeah, absolutely, and we can put it into
Okay,
the
so we're on the
webmaster.
same page.
Or even just provide us with a link or something like that, so that we can just have the web.
Link it over, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, link it over.
okay. And we even thought, that would probably be impossible to only allow 8 digits or whatever, but like maybe even the street signs, got B's, C form, something like that.
Probably not gonna be clear enough.
Website.
I mean, we get enough blowback from the 3:00-ish. on this
I think too, there's something
Roads
said.
closed from dawn, sunrise to sunset.
Ish.
People drive, people driving all day long. Well, road's closed.
I know, those signs are impossible.
But
they
I
think
understand
too-
what they're trying to do, and.
I think they're gonna try to do something that Earth Day too, put it out there.
Perfect, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
that's kind of how we approach it too.
And then, the bylaw, I'm gonna follow up with that because I really thought that they had more, so.
Well, no, I think Sabrina found it.
Oh, she found, it. Oh, okay.
Sabrina's the sleuth. Yeah, we'll just make sure that they're finalized.
Is that it?
That's it. Finance, finance, there's nothing really to report there.
Elected boards, continue with, the water department. The water department progress looks really good. There's been some, changes. I know that I'm working with Eric right now in regards to finding out if the monies that the water department receives from, the settlement, if they can put that into a interest-bearing account, to be able to use that. I know I've reached out, we talked with MDOR when they came here, and I haven't heard anything from them. Have you heard anything? But I did let one of the commissioners know that you and I have talked about it. I brought it up to MDOR, and we haven't heard anything as of
I think
yet.
their general answer was, as long as it's water related, water would get it. And then they can, when they get the money, they can they're allowed to do with it what is allowed. Ironically, I think that prudent investor thing that's in the town meeting might allow them to put it in something that would earn more interest and therefore help us a little bit more, with the rates. But, I think unless we hear something different, I think that would be the plan.
Yeah, we have had, I know that I've been active with looking at what other towns in our situation have been, and we've really been way before the curve to get this, because several towns in the area have been declined to get some of the funding that we've gotten. And we're very lucky to have the right people in the right places to be able to get what we needed to. And again, Senator Cronin and Margaret Scarsdale were very helpful with us to get that set up over the last couple of years. And they're still on track to have that all set by November. So that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
I know that I've worked with the Recreation Department with the resolution that we talked about today. I've also been working with the Rec Department to be able to strengthen their IT footprint. So they now have solid Wi-Fi over there. We've put in a new rack and new switches so that they have a telephone number that works every time you pick it up instead of intermittently. And they're able to use their some of their games on their TV for the kids now because they're more solid over there. So that I think is a big plus. I know that planning and zoning, they're chugging right along. Both of them have had full agendas. I just want to say that all the boards that I've been working with, it's very, very nice to be as collaborative as they are. The boards and committees are talking to one another. We collaborate when we can in our meetings here, and I think that's making it easier all the way around. I'm getting positive feedback from the community in regards to their communications and their interactions with our boards and committee, and says that you guys have got your stuff together, and that's good to hear. So I think all of us are doing what we can do to keep our boards going. Public safety, Joe.
Not a lot to report. Police department, I think the only concern he has is, I think Eric, you've been involved, we gotta just pay really close attention to his concerns at town meeting, how we're gonna kind of keep that under control, that something doesn't go wrong there. Other than that, his department's running real smooth, things are good. Naturally, every department's complaining of their budget. We're all doing the best we can on that. Fire department, I think, has done a tremendous job. I've had a couple meetings with Gary and the new assistant chief. I think he's going to be a home run for us. He's a really well-educated, well-knowledgeable fire service. That's really good. As far as the building department, Eric, you and I have been kind of in the loop. I think things are going really well. I think it's moving in the right direction. I know there was a couple emails that you and I've seen that you're working with him on, and other than that, I think, once again, as you said, it's really nice to see everybody working together, talking and moving forward. That's the most important.
It makes it easier for all of us.
That's it.
I'll add to that, Joe. I know that with the fiber project that I've been working on, it was very nice to be able to get into the police department, get what we need to get done, full cooperation from both the fire and the police, and that's always been a struggle. But it's nice to see. Yeah, you want to come over? What time? All right, and they're right there. So I'm very pleased with how everybody's doing everything. 5.3, announcements and communications. I'm gonna go by how it's Heroes Live Forever Benefit and Run. This is on May 31st from 5 to 8 p.m. That's the benefit. And then there's a run on October 5th, 2024, and that's 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. or so-ish. Ticket cost for that is $15 for the benefit. That'll be at Wachusett Brewing Company in Westminster. Tickets for the run. They're looking for sponsors, but we'll have this up in the website. There's also raffles involved in that. So Heroes Live Run Forever Benefit and Run. This is a memorial road race in memory of the Templeton EMT Tracy Barraza. The next one is the yard sale. Townsend, 2024 Townsend-wide yard sale. Like, people have asked me when this is going to be. It will be Saturday, May 18th. The rain date is the Sunday, the 19th. This is to benefit the Kids Country Playground. They are looking to register more than 50 yard sales at homes. With the registration, you'll receive online publicity via social media, flyer signs. Your location and description of goods are on the map. Spaces are available on town common parking lot, $15. There is a registration form, and that also will be on the website for that. Next is Townsend Earth Day, April 20th. That is this Saturday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's at the North Middlesex Regional High School. The rain date is April 21st, but it looks like it's going to be a good day on Saturday. So let's hope it's not as windy as it has been the past couple of years. I spent the day trying to hold down the tent. But there'll be vendors and crafters. Each spot is 10 by 10. The information is already on our website, and there's not only vendors, but there'll be other things available for you to be able to see. Fudge and popcorn and all that kind of stuff is available as well. I did tell Stacy, our director of the libraries, that I was going to make this announcement today. She wanted to share the news that Kathy Hill has worked for the town of Townsend as a librarian for 30 years.
30 years.
Yesterday was her official anniversary. She started on April 15th, 1994, and she attached a picture, and the picture is adorable. We're going to make sure that's up on the website as well. But she's sitting at her desk with a big 30 behind her. There is also, we're going to be putting up, there's a survey, which is a safety action plan in regards to MBA, the MART, MRPC is doing a survey. The survey, we're looking for public feedback, and the public feedback link will be put on the website. This is in regards to any type of public transportation. If you have any comments or concerns, what your needs are. The town has been providing transportation on MART from here to the Fitchburg Intermodal. We'd like to know from the public what your thoughts are on it. The ridership hasn't been that great, so we'd really like to be able to get some feedback to find out. We did have a lot of interest when we did our last survey in regards to transportation, and getting rides to the intermodal was a big thing, and we got MART to agree with us to get transportation there, and that didn't seem to have a big ridership. So we're asking anybody and everybody to go in, fill out that application, fill out that survey, so that we have public input in regards to that. You guys get anything?
The only thing I want to mention is the DAV van is going to be at Earth Day. We just hope people stop by. If they have anybody that needs a ride, they can grab the information from us. Or if anybody's interested in volunteering to drive veterans, you don't have to be a veteran, but to drive veterans to their appointment, we'll have the information how to sign up for that.
5.4, the next meeting is going to be April 23rd at 11 o'clock.
Is there, could it be any earlier at all? If possible?
And what about
I'll be
you?
Well, just,
I know how Teresa feels about early. She's like, what do you mean by early?
I am leaving for Iceland that afternoon,
so I'm leaving.
You're leaving for
Saturday
Spain,
afternoon. So, I
I
mean,
mean, we could do it as early as, 9 o'clock if you guys
10
are.
o'clock, I mean, what time you leaving?
It doesn't matter, just you guys decide, I'm fine.
You know, even if we do 10 o'clock.
I'm leaving to Leominster later on in the day.
We could do it at 10, and that way to
10, I'm
to
okay with
build
Give
a little
everybody
leeway.
time, so
Yeah,
you're not
okay. We'll do
stressing,
10,
you know?
10 o'clock is good, I'm okay with that.
Perfect, thank you for
You
that.
make that change for me, Sabrina, and we'll get that agenda in ASAP. Then the next meeting after that is 5/7, is our regular meeting, and then the special town meeting,
It's at
after
6
that.
PM, right? And then special at
We haven't
7.
set the time for the regular town meeting,
No.
for the regular meeting.
Oh,
It might be at 6, it might be at 5:30, depends on whether we have things we need to do. We'll set
okay,
that on
I
the
got you, all
23rd.
right. We'll get,
The 4/23 meeting, that should be a quick one, all right?
We don't anticipate that being
Yeah.
there. Not gonna keep you here.
the
for
way we
4
do
hours.
it, sometimes do it earlier.
I just want to make
Well,
sure
we're
I
not,
make my
we're not
flight.
anticipating a very good. meeting.
Chaz and I don't have any place to go, so maybe we'll just drag it out.
We'll get our ice cream now.
Yeah.
We'll move it along, trust me.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to general law.
Well,
Well,
chapter
first let's do
Oh.
5.5.
5.5, review and sign, I'll entertain a motion to review and sign payroll and bills payable warrants out of session.
So moved,
Second,
All those in favor?
Chief Seymour, yes?
sure, thank you, yes.
Chaz Sexton Duranian, yes. Now I'll entertain a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to general law, chapter 30A, section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions with respect to litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, which he does, in regards to the police union arbitration, and adjourn from executive session.
So moved,
Second,
All those in favor?
Chief Seymour, yes?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chaz Sexton Duranian, yes.